is at the White House for us with the latest on those strikes. Lucas.
John, these are the most significant airstrikes since President Trump returned to the White House, and the first time U.S. jets have struck these Iranian-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen since President Trump returned to the White House. U.S. officials say F-18 Super Hornets from the flight deck of the USS Harry S. Truman were the vanguard of the strikes, along with Air Force fighter jets and drones. President Trump announcing the strikes just a few minutes ago on his Truth Social, saying, quote, today I have ordered the United States military to launch decisive and powerful military action against the Houthi terrorists in Yemen. They have waged an unrelenting campaign of piracy, violence, and terrorism against American and other ships, aircraft.
Hello, this is Dr. Paul Cottrell. We are doing a live stream. I apologize, had some technical difficulties, so I had to set up some other stuff here. We're doing a live stream on YouTube, and we're doing a simulcast on X Spaces. So please join X Spaces if you would like to ask a question. We're going to go over the military strike and any new developments that have been taking place over the weekend. So please help support my work by making sure that you subscribe to all my channels. I have 4 channels on YouTube: Brighteon, Bitchute, and Rumble. As you know, I get strikes on YouTube. We do live streams on different channels depending on which strike is happening. I also do live streams on Rumble. Tonight, we're not going to be doing a live stream on Rumble. In addition, help support my work by making sure that you ask your social media to follow me. I need to accrete more followers so I can reach a larger audience. Very important, especially with things that are happening in the world today, in finance, in your health, and obviously geopolitically. You can help support my work with these videos that I do. I give them out for free. I have thousands of videos for free, all right? I don't put stuff behind a paywall. I think that people that put stuff behind a paywall and if they have something important to say, is trying to monetize the eyeballs, and they don't really care about sharing information and helping your life. So I put all of my stuff out for free. So please help support by buying the products that I have on my store. I have ebooks and supplements and courses that you can take learning about immunology and pulmonology, lots of things to help support my work. And you can donate. You can donate on my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com. You can donate through Stripe, PayPal, or buy me a coffee, or you can be a paid member to my Patreon channel. I greatly appreciate, for the ones that have been donating for 5 years or more continuously, thank you very much. It's through your patronage that allows me to reach many people and to inform the public accordingly. I have thousands of videos for free out there. So please help support my work by donating and getting the products that I offer. Before we start, I just want to plug one type of product that I have on my store first. I have structural nano silver soaps, very high quality. I have 2 versions in the new packaging. It's the same high quality soap that I've been selling. It's just in a different packaging. Lavender and also in pepper. Well, it's also in peppermint, but I don't have the peppermint one. This is a professional show. So in peppermint and also in lavender in the new packaging, which looks pretty good. Please go to my store, get a couple bars for your household, help support my work, and help support your health and wellness. I also have in the old packaging the charcoal tea tree and the lemongrass. So get a couple bars for your household. Again, help support my work and help support your health. It's a win-win situation. So with that said, you can use discount 5 and you get $5 off any order. Get a few products. Follow the protocols that I tell you. Stack them a different way to reach your particular price point and what you want to target. There's lots that I know about with this subject matter to be able to help with improving your health. You just follow the way I stack stuff, and you're gonna move in the right direction. With that, let's start with Fox News about the United States hitting Yemen.
at the White House for us with the latest on those strikes. Lucas.
John, these are the most significant airstrikes since President Trump returned to the White House, and the first time U.S. jets have struck these Iranian-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen since President Trump returned to the White House. U.S. officials say F-18 Super Hornets from the flight deck of the USS Harry S. Truman were the vanguard of the strikes, along with Air Force fighter jets and drones. President Trump announcing the strikes just a few minutes ago on his Truth Social, saying, quote, today I have ordered the United States military to launch decisive and powerful military action against the Houthi terrorists in Yemen. They have waged an unrelenting campaign of piracy, violence, and terrorism against American and other ships, aircraft, and drones. Joe Biden's response was pathetically weak, so the unrestrained Houthis just kept going. And John, recall, it was just days after taking office, one of President Trump's first executive orders was redesignating the Houthis a foreign terrorist organization after the Biden administration removed them. The State Department made it official earlier this month, marking Houthi leaders ripe for assassination. The targets of today's strikes include air defense systems and missile and drone factories, and also include a strike against one of the Houthis' top missile officers. The Houthis are backed by Iran. Many consider them modern-day Barbary pirates. Since the October 7th massacre, they have launched over 100 attacks against commercial shipping. U.S. warships also came into the crosshairs of the Houthis dozens of times in recent years. The Houthis launched anti-ship ballistic missiles and crewed drones at the American warships. None were successful and all were shot down. And just a few days ago, Houthis leader said attacks would resume against shipping in the Red Sea, including Israeli ships. General Cottrell, the head of U.S. forces in the Middle East, has been itching to launch these strikes to reopen those vital shipping lanes and destroy Iran's proxy force in Yemen. Cottrell ordered Truman, the U.S. Navy aircraft carrier, back to the Red Sea late last month to be prepared to launch these strikes. And those Super Hornets, as you can see there. Last month, the Houthis launched surface-to-air missiles and an Air Force F-16 orbiting overhead, as well as an American Reaper drone. And John, it's not just in Yemen where U.S. forces have been engaged. Last night, President Trump announced the #2 leader in ISIS had been killed in an American drone strike. We have some video footage, as you can see there. That happened in western Iraq yesterday. And John, these airstrikes against the Iranian-backed Houthi rebels were meant to send a message to Tehran as well to stop their support for the Houthi rebels. Of course, that's where these missiles and drones that the Houthis fire at commercial ships and U.S. warships come from. I'll also read a little more from President Trump's lengthy statement on Truth Social. He had a message to the Houthis. It says, quote, "Your time is up and your attacks must stop starting today. If they don't, hell will rain down upon you like never before." And to Iran, support for the Houthi terrorists must end immediately. And President Trump said he won't be nice about it, John.
You're a Navy veteran, Lucas. I know that during the Biden administration, the Navy said it was basically more engaged in seaborne operations than at any time since, I think, World War II. Do I have that right? And is this kind of intended to put an end to that kind of thing on the part of the Houthis?
That's right, John. Multiple times U.S. warships came under ballistic missile attack in the Red Sea and off the coast of Yemen and the Gulf of Aden. And just for context, that has never happened in world history. Ballistic missiles have never been launched at U.S. warships before. Thankfully, they were all shot down. But I was always concerned in the Pentagon, what if those missiles gets through? It was notable President Biden, in his farewell address, he talked about U.S. forces not being engaged in combat. And if you looked at the Navy press release from the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower strike group returned from the Red Sea, they talked about hundreds of bombs being dropped against the Houthis, dozens of surface-to-air missiles from those Super Hornets shooting down those crewed drones that are flying overhead. There was also an issue of cost. These interceptor missiles launched from the guided missile destroyers and cruisers in the strike group, John, those missiles cost millions of dollars shooting down, or in essence, flying lawnmowers launched from the Houthis, very crude drones, just $50,000 or so in cost. And the fact that these shipping lanes, vital shipping lanes that are needed for commerce, for oil trade, have been essentially shut down since the October 7th massacre. Commercial ships having to take that long journey around Africa, certainly adding to the cost. So certainly there's an economic message here with these strikes against the Houthis today. And by the way, John, these strikes could go on for a number of days. That's not immediately clear.
Right, because I read that one of the goals is to target their weapons storage facilities, which are reportedly deep underground. So they're going to be using those bunker busters and probably repeatedly to try to get to those warehouses that are essentially buried.
Right, and it's notable, John, those Super Hornets carry 2,000-pound JDAM satellite guided bombs. Those are not bunker busters, so if you needed those, probably have to call in something heavier, some B-52 bombers, perhaps a B-2 bombers. We saw that one time during the Biden administration, B-2s launching from White Air Force Base in Missouri. But certainly this is a powerful message being sent. You know, you also have Tomahawk cruise missiles aboard those guided missile destroyers in the Truman Strike Group. We didn't hear about any Tomahawk strikes today. But certainly there's more firepower in the area if called upon.
A powerful message being sent not only to the Houthis, but as you say, to Iran as well, Lucas.
There's no question, John. President Trump recently sent a letter to the Ayatollah saying Iran needs to end its nuclear enrichment program, stop in this path toward what many in the intelligence community say is a path to a nuclear bomb. The Israelis have been itching to strike the Iranians so far. While the Trump administration has voiced its support for such an operation, President Trump has said he wants to end this diplomatically. That's why he sent that letter, but it was rejected from the Ayatollah. But the Iranians support these Houthi rebels, and so there's no question this is a message being sent to Tehran as well in Sana'a in Yemen.
All right, Lucas Tomlinson at the White House. If you get more information on these attacks against the Houthis in Yemen, get back to us. Thanks.
All right, we're gonna do live now. Take on this.
Thanks for staying with us here on Live Now from Fox. I'm your host, Christina Evans. As promised before we went to that 2-minute break, we're going to be diving a bit further into some of the headlines that are coming out of the Middle East. Want to put up this live shot that we have there in Tel Aviv. So what we do know is that today, President Trump said that he ordered a series of airstrikes on the Houthi-held areas there in Yemen, promising to use overwhelming lethal force until Iranian-backed Houthi rebels cease their attacks on shipping alongside that vital maritime corridor. Right now, we do know that the Houthis have said in response that 13 civilians have been killed in the capital. I want to put this on your screen as well. This is a portion of that statement from President Trump that he put on Truth Social as he announced some of these attacks. I'm going to read it out in full here, and then we're going to dive in with some of our experts to decode what this means and overall what the impact will be there in the region. But as this reads here, President Trump says, the Houthi attack on American vessels will not be tolerated. We will use overwhelming lethal force until we have achieved our objective. The Houthis have choked on shipping and one of the most important waterways of the world, grinding vast swaths of global commerce to a halt and attacking the core principle of freedom of navigation upon which international trade and commerce depend. Our brave warfighters are right now carrying out aerial attacks on the terrorist bases, leaders, and missile defenses to protect American shipping, air, and naval assets, and to restore navigational freedom. No terrorist force will stop American commercial and naval vessels from freely sailing the waterways of the world. Wanted to bring you that portion of the statement. Again, we brought this to you as breaking news when it came out that President Trump has now conducted these wide-ranging missile strikes against the Houthis and Yemen. I want to bring into the conversation now Ken Gray. Thanks so much for being with us here on Live Now from Fox. Of course, we like to keep our eye on this region as some of this news comes out. First of all, what were your thoughts initially when you heard that President Trump had ordered these attacks there on the Houthis?
Hi, Christina. Glad to be with you. To me, this is something that should have occurred over a year ago. That is, the Houthis have been dominating the Red Sea, denying the use of the Red Sea for international commercial shipping. Billions of dollars have been wasted because ships have had to sail all the way around Africa to be able to get up into the European countries, into the United States, denying them the opportunity to be able to go through the Suez Canal. The Egyptian government has been reeling from the fact that they have not been able to get the money from shipping going through the Suez Canal. And now the Houthis have announced that they are going to resume their attacks on ships in that area. They had not been doing so for about the last month during the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. But now they have recently just announced that they were going to resume their attacks on ships. So President Trump has rightly said that we will not tolerate that. We will not tolerate U.S. warships coming under fire by the Houthis. and that we will take care of the problem of the Houthis. This is not a one-time strike like happened during the Biden administration. We're not going to see a few missiles or a few aircraft attack, and then that'll be it for the operation. This is attacks that will be ongoing for days to weeks.
And when we're seeing these attacks, as you say, they're going to be ongoing for days to weeks. This has been expected. Can you sort of explain the long relationship between Iran and the Houthis as well? They are one of those proxy groups there in the region.
So the axis here of resistance, Iran runs a group of proxy countries, proxy groups throughout that area, all the way from Iran across to Lebanon, down into Israel with Hamas and the Islamic Jihad, and also with the Houthis. The Houthis have been punching far above their weight class in that they had wanted to get into the fight against Israel with Hamas, but because of the distance from Israel, they've only been able to do a couple of airstrikes against Israel, and none of them have been effective. However, they have been showing themselves to be very effective at launching attacks on commercial shipping going through the Red Sea and denying the Red Sea passage for commercial shipping. And so they have been harassing shipping and have been a constant source of irritation, but they are finally going to be dealt with. So far today, attacks on them have been striking at things like radar installations or launching equipment or missiles. What actually has to happen is to make the Houthi leadership pay a price to seek out and neutralize their leadership in addition to their equipment. So a lot of their equipment has been put underground, so that denies them as easy targets. But the Houthi leadership should be targeted also.
And when we're thinking about the broader impact of some of these attacks, let's first talk about the economic impact. These ships, they are going through that region. It's a major thoroughfare, as President Trump said. Can you sort of talk about how that's impacting multiple countries, not just the United States, as it's a frequently used path for shipping?
Yeah, all the goods that are passing from the Far East take that route through the Red Sea. So we're talking about impact on a lot of different countries' economies. Parts for cars, for instance, often had to be directed all the way around Africa, taking an additional month to get to their end use to be put into automobiles as they're being manufactured. Electronic goods coming from China has to be diverted all the way around like that, around Africa. And so this has been an impact not only on the United States, but an impact on European countries across the board and an impact on the Far East. And so the Houthis are, as I say, are punching far above their weight class. They are having a real impact to be such a small group that barely controls the country of Yemen. They have split Yemen into the Yemen government and the Houthi government. And so they have been a constant source of irritation. Saudi Arabia had been fighting with them before they ended up making peace with the Houthis. The Houthis, as I say, wanted to be involved in the attack on Israel, but their distance made that very difficult. So they did the next best thing and tried to dominate shipping going through this area.
And as we're continuing on here, we do know as well that the Houthis put out a statement saying that 13 civilians had been killed in the process. Of course, this is going to continue on. And we also know that the United States says that, according to officials, that they are the only ones who participated in this attack. Do you think that others of our allies will continue to jump into this fight as well? Or do you think it will solely be a U.S. action that's taking place for the time being?
I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you what will happen in the weeks to come. But I think that the United States has sufficient force in this area to be able to punish the Houthis enough to stop them from resuming their attacks. We've got the Harry S. Truman Carrier Strike Group there, comprised of the carrier and the aircraft on board the carrier, and it also has destroyers, and it has a cruiser with it. Plus, there's also a cruise missile submarine there in the area, and so that alone should be sufficient force to be able to stop the Houthis from resuming their attacks in this area, and should be able to met out enough punishment to keep them from being a continued source of irritation.
Overall, with this U.S. show of force there in the region, how do you think this is going to impact some of the other groups that are there in the Middle East, including Israel? Of course, they currently do have a ceasefire agreement with Hamas, no matter how fragile at this point. But do you think that this will impact some of the other conflicts there in the region?
So the chief country that will be impacted by this is Iran. Iran is the puppet master pulling the strings on all the puppets, the Houthis being one of these puppets. They have been greatly damaged by the actions there in Syria, which Harakat with Hayat al-Tam Sham, HYT, overthrowing the Syrian government and denying Iran access to Hezbollah. And so this is another one of their puppets. So they don't have Hezbollah. Hamas is all but neutralized. And now they are losing the Houthis, which were constantly launching attacks on ships in the area for Iran. And now they've lost out on that group also. So Iran is the one that is actually, in addition to the Houthis, is going to be the country suffering the most from this.
Again, putting up that portion of President Trump's statement as he talked about the U.S. conducting these strikes against the Houthis there in Yemen. We've been here with Ken Gray helping us to break down some of the latest headlines. And before I let you go, any more thoughts that people who are listening now should be looking out for over the next few days after President Trump made this announcement?
So the president said that we were going to have a continued set of operations against the Houthis. It will be interesting to see how the Houthis will react to that, whether they will continue to try to attack shipping in the area, or if they go to ground and stop. The civilian casualties are due to the fact that the Houthis are placing their weapon systems within civilian population areas. And so the human shields that are being used to try to protect their systems are the population in that area. So they, of course, will be also the ones suffering from this. But, this is long overdue. I'm surprised that it did not happen earlier, but the Biden administration was very, very reluctant to carry out any operations in this area. And they were constantly hamstringing the Israelis from taking care of Hamas. And the Houthis continue to be a problem because the Biden administration refused to do anything other than a couple of selected strikes on weapon systems.
All right, once again.
All right, we're going to pivot to also Live Now's coverage of Gaza. Palestinians could be ousted to Sudan and Somalia. But before we do that, just want to remind the audience we're simulcasting. We're doing a live stream on YouTube, and we're also on X Spaces for call-ins. So if someone wants to give their opinion about what's going on with this news that we're covering tonight, or have a question or whatever, please just ask for the mic and just be respectful, and you can ask your question or give me your comment. It's supposed to be interactive, so the ones that are watching on YouTube, if you want to join the X Spaces and ask a question, please do. The link is in the chat. The ones that are already on X Spaces, just request the mic and you can talk. Before we go to the next video, please help support my work. All these videos that I do are for free. I got thousands of videos for free. I have 7 channels. I have 4 channels on YouTube, Brighteon, Bitchute, and Rumble. It's really important that you follow me on all these channels because I do the live streams on YouTube and Rumble, but I get strikes because of the things that we cover, especially when it comes to your health. And you know, I have to, it's whack-a-mole all the time with YouTube. So please help support my work. You can do that by making sure you subscribe, you share the links, you donate on my website, or be a paid member to my Patreon channel. All the people that have purchased my products or donated or are members on Patreon, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. It's through your help with the channel that allows me to do these videos for free. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. The link is in the description of this video and all my videos. I've partnered up with Rainbow Herbals and we've created these deodorants that are dual purpose for males and females. You can get them in citrus or in peppermint, lavender, and tea tree. How is it dual purpose? Thank you for asking. You use them as a deodorant, but it will also detoxify your body. They're made from essential oils from the Himalayas. You can't get a deodorant out there anywhere other than right here. All right. So please go to my store, get the deodorants. It's for males and females. Use it every day as a deodorant, but it's also going to help to detoxify your body. It has no aluminum, it has no baking soda. It's made from essential oils from the Himalayas, all natural, very high quality. So please go to my store, get a couple bars for your household, help support my work and help support your health. It's a dual purpose product. A lot of the things that I mentioned on my store, if you stack them in a certain way, they have a dual purpose. And by targeting your body in you know, different organ systems, you're getting more for your money. So I'm trying to add value to the stacks that I built up on my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. All right. With that said, another great thing to get on my store is a probiotic. All right. I have 2 different types. I have a powdered version and a veggie cap version. Both are very high quality. Should take a probiotic every day to bring down inflammation in your gut, to improve your food absorption. And when you're improving the mucosal lining within your gut, you're also improving your immune system in your GI tract. Really important, because with a good immune system, that means you don't have leaky gut syndrome and you don't have mutations in the crypt and you just have a healthier body. All right. People that have bad gut biome and poor gut health will start having problems with their hair, with their nails, and with their skin. Also problems with their kidney or their liver or even their brain. All right. Now, if you improve your gut biome, you're going to improve your immune system, but you're also improving your metabolism. You're improving the communication between your gut and your liver. Your liver is a major detox organ. And by improving your gut, you're going to be able to sleep better. You're going to have less mental fatigue. And with a good gut biome, you're reducing your chances of early onset of dementia, because research has shown that certain types of poor gut biome, certain types of bad bacterial colonies can lead to early onset of dementia. All right. You don't want that. My father has dementia. It's terrible. He doesn't know his family. He doesn't know anything anymore. It's terrible. He's slowly dying in a nursing home because he has ischemic dementia. It's sad. All right. But you can mitigate the probability of you getting something by improving your health. Now, it's not just taking a probiotic. It's a holistic approach. It's proper diet, proper exercise. That means resistance training, cardio, stretching, and balancing. Really important to activate those neurons. All 4 of those exercises are really important. You can't just weightlift. If you're just weightlifting, doing it wrong. If you're just doing cardio, you're doing it wrong. If you're just doing balancing exercises, you're doing it wrong. If you're just stretching, you're doing it wrong. Did I make my point clear? Now, proper diet, all right, that proper exercise in the 4 categories: proper sleep, mindfulness is really important, or spirituality, to bring your body, calm your body down and put it into parasympathetic. And also train your mind. You got to learn new things. Get out of your comfort zone. Read, write, and talk to people in the real world. Those are going to activate neurons. When you're activating your neurons, no matter what age you are, you're improving your positive neuroplasticity. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. View this in a holistic approach and get the right supplementation and stack them the way I'm telling you to stack them. You need a good probiotic every day. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Use discount 5 and you get $5 off any order. Okay, with that said, I do have a request on X. So just to remind the people that are watching on YouTube, X Spaces is open. The link is in the chat. If you'd like to ask a question or give me your opinion on the news that's going on, please do. So with that said, let me just pass the mic on. As long as you're respectful, that's all I ask. Hello? You got the mic.
Oh, how are you tonight? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Yeah, I was just going to comment on this Yemen. Well, the whole Middle East. It seems like it could be kind of like a catalyst to World War III. I mean, Egypt is not in a. They're not friendly right now either over there. And I'm just, they were counting out Hezbollah, but if Lebanon and Egypt kind of team up together right there, plus Yemen, I mean, it's not a good situation at all. And not only that, Iran, there's a lot of talk, that we're going to scare Iran. We can go right back to the 70s again and have $25, a gallon gas. I mean, real quick.
Well, I definitely sort of agree with you with oil prices escalating if we strike Iran. The problem with the 70s, because I remember the 70s really well. I remember both oil embargoes, the 74 and the 78, 79 oil embargo. And the differences between the 70s and now is that the United States has much more oil production because of fracking than we had in the 70s. Fracking was non-existent. That technology was non-existent in the 70s. So the oil drilling and extraction technologies were far more primitive back in the 70s than they are now. Plus, they have new computer scanning of the
find it.
Yeah, they can find the wells better, and and not only that, there's horizontal drilling now. It's not just vertical drilling; it's horizontal. You can drill vertically and then shift the drill bit horizontally. So there's lots of new technologies that have come out through Schlumberger. So I don't feel that the United States, and I do think they will go to war with Iran. When they do go to war with Iran, I don't think that oil prices will escalate like anything we saw in the 70s. Plus, the difference now compared to the 70s is that the Saudis are more aligned with how we're thinking than the Saudis were back in the 70s. So that was another dynamic that's different. But I agree with the point that oil is most likely going to go up when we do the strike. Now, another thing that's different is that our ability to hit Iran, shut down their radar systems, and penetrate deep into Iran towards Tehran is much more advanced today than it was in the 70s. So I think our military prowess, if we use it, is far more advanced than anything that we had in the 70s. But I get your point that yeah, this is we're looking for. I think that not only do I think that this conflict is going to escalate, I think this conflict is going to escalate this year. I don't think it's just a year from now or 2 years or 5 years from now. I think we're talking months, not years.
Yeah, and well, if I can add one more thing too, we also have this deal in Europe going off as well. So it's in the 70s we didn't have a war happening in Europe at the same time either.
Right. Well, this is you got three different theaters going on. You have the European theater, the Middle Eastern theater, and potentially even the Asian theater with Taiwan. So this could lead to a major escalation. Now the question is, will President Xi take advantage of the situation and attack Taiwan, thinking the United States is bogged down in the Middle East? Who knows? I mean, I don't think we have enough. I personally don't think we have enough aircraft strike groups to do a two-front, two-theater war. I think we need like another 2 strike groups. But with drone technology, who knows? Maybe aircraft carriers are going to be a thing of the past in the near future. Who knows? Definitely, there's been new technologies because of the Ukraine war. The use of drones to knock out tanks that probably will be applied to knocking out naval vessels.
Yeah, I know about that too. Because they can kind of overwhelm the defenses right now.
Right.
Yeah, it's a very bad situation. I guess it's really early to tell, but it's not looking good.
Are you in the military, or do you know anyone in the military right now?
No, I just pay attention to everything.
Yeah. It's we're living in tumultuous times. We're gonna see something like I've been saying on my shows for several months, and we're gonna see 10 years of history wrapped up in 1 year in 2025. And I can feel it just covering the news on a daily basis. The pace is just more intense compared to the last 4 years.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for the call. I greatly appreciate it. Is there anything else that you'd like to say, or?
No, just God bless everybody. Hopefully we can get some peace in this world.
Right. No, peace is important for everybody. That's I'm glad you said that, that all people, we all want peace, and it's just better for everybody's children, no matter where they live in the world. The problem comes in is that there are nefarious actors in different regions of the world, and there are even nefarious actors within our own government that are hell-bent on having never-ending war. And there's a famous song out there, but it's also based on a religious poem. There's a time for peace and there's a time for war. We may be in that period of time where we have to have war to have peace. So
yeah. We have the financial thing too is a little worrisome too.
Right. No,
use for war.
Yeah, no, that's so true. That's very true. I don't know if you've been watching the S&P 500, but the S&P 500 has been selling off precipitously.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've told the audience that the next support level on the S&P 500 is about 5,500, and it's getting close to that. I think it closed on Friday at 5,600 something, but it's been inching towards that 550, that 5,500 mark for a while.
Yeah.
And so if that breaks, it's going to 4,800.
I seen the Bitcoin one because there is a big gap. It's just a big. I mean, it's the same thing with the S&P though.
Yeah. No, so what I've been following Bitcoin. I'm not a big Bitcoin guy at all. I mean, I'm against the idea that a cryptocurrency is going to supplant the U.S. dollar. I'm against that idea. But I do think that people can make money with the volatility of Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's what it's about.
But the thing is that what's weird is that the stock market was starting to falter. Then that hack by Bitchute in North Korea happened by Lazarov Group. Mm-hmm. So they hacked. They stole like $1.4 billion worth of Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin starts selling off, and some other cryptos were selling off too. And I thought, you know what? That's just kind of like a new, that's a news event, and then it would be time to buy. But the thing is, it kept on selling, selling. And even with Trump saying that maybe we're going to be able to, the United States is going to create this reserve with certain cryptos, it boosted back up a little bit, but then it dropped back down. So with me looking at it recently, it looks like Bitcoin it's not about the fundamentals at all right now. The way it's trading, it's all about a correlation with the S&P 500. It's a correlation with equity. If equities are selling off, Bitcoin's going to sell off. And so it's so it's kind of like, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen with it? It's trading at like 84 now, 84,000. But is it ever going to get back to 98? I think in the long term it will, but in the short term, who knows? I mean, I don't. In the next 2 months, I don't know where it's going to be at.
Yeah, I think when it hits like around 77, there's no support for a long time. It's a hard drop.
I know. That 79 is a major support level if you look at the fib sequence, but 77, you're close with that number. So, but the thing is it just climbs so fast that there's no support after that. But it would, if it drops like to 50, so let's say people were getting in at 100,000 and it drops to 50 and they lost 50% of their investment, I think that may permanently scar people that were late investors to the game, and they may never go back in. Usually if you invest in a stock and you lose 50%, you will never touch that stock again. So, I mean, that's just the behavior of people. If you burn yourself, with a fire, you're going to learn, right? You're not going to try that again. So there's a psychological behavior that if it breaks that 77 mark or 79 mark, you may have a whole class of investors that never will touch Bitcoin again.
Yeah, not to mention gold. Gold seems like it might do something.
Yeah,
I don't.
I'm not. I haven't been really watching the gold futures that closely, so I don't really know if it's going. See, the thing is that if the stock market keeps on going down and breaks that 5,500 support level, then you're talking the people are going to get laid off, and the Federal Reserve is going to have to cut rates, and that hot money is going to come in, and then institutional investors are going to start to buy the equity. So around 550, around the 5,500 mark is like the time to buy. I mean, this is like where's Warren Buffett right now?
All cash. And I heard Trump is he doesn't want to do quantitative easing this time. So when it starts to fail and starts to tip, it's just gonna go like a real market correction. But that's what I heard. I don't know if it's so true.
Well, we're near market correction right now. Usually the term market correction is like around 10%. So we're almost there. But if we break that, we're talking recession.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking recession, and it's going to take potentially a year to heal. Because usually recessions like this could last 9 months. And I'm not so sure, how many people can I don't think it'll be a Lehman kind of thing. I think we'll never see a Lehman event in our lifetime again. But we may see I don't know how old you are, but this may be kind of like the recession that we were seeing in 91, 92.
Well, they say the amount of banks that closed down, the money, that just from this last one, when what was that California bank? They said that was more
SVB.
But that was more banks than when the Great Financial Crisis happened.
Yeah, I don't know how much contagion within the banking system if you start seeing small banks failing. How that will really affect the global, the overall market in the United States or the global market. I suspect that the global banks are weaker than the United States Big Five. So, but who knows? I mean, I just feel as though I think our economy is teetering to the point of a recession. That's the feel I get. And these tariffs are probably going to shut down some plants in the United States. because they're going to not have parts. So
Yeah.
So you're going to have to furlough a lot of auto workers, not just the line workers, but also the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 suppliers. That's a lot of people in the United States. And so we probably will, you know, tippy toe into a recession because
I
of
think
tariffs.
there's kind of a workaround around that though, like the odd, like, because you noticed we were getting a lot of like Asian, like Honda and stuff like that. So you know, they don't have to worry about tariffs, so they can buy anything and have it shipped to you know, same thing like how Nissan, they changed it to a Datsun. You remember?
Right. Well, I mean, even Nissan is having problems. They're having financial problems, and they are trying to get bought out by Honda. So I'm not even sure. It's possible that we may actually see the ending of Nissan, just like we saw the ending of Saturn and Pontiac within GM when GM had a restructure. So I'm not so sure. You know, what's really if the equity market holds at 5,500 for the S&P 500, and it starts to go back up towards 6,000, then we have averted a recession. But if it doesn't and it breaks, you're probably seeing, from instead of unemployment at 4.1%, you're probably going to see unemployment at 6.5%.
Yeah.
So that's my take on it. But thank you. I appreciate the call and you know, sharing your perspective on this. This is the whole point of the show, is to get people's take on you know, what's going on in the world and what's going on in our economy. And you know, I prefer an audience that has you know shares thoughts instead of just the host just sharing, doing a monologue. You know, I think it just makes the show a better show. But thank you.
Thank you for letting me get my words out.
Yeah, well, appreciate it. Thank you very much. I'm going to go back to the videos now. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so just to remind everybody, on YouTube, I do have X Spaces. The link is in the chat. You can click the X Space link. It'll take you to the X Spaces. And you just ask for the mic and you can tell me your opinion, just like what we just went through. With that, let me just plug a product here, because these videos are for free and I need your help. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the great products that I have, stack them the way I'm stacking them to improve your health and wellness. All right. I've been doing this kind of thing since I was 16 years old, you know, with strong antioxidants and, you know, working out all the time. And I've learned a lot. All right. Plus what I've learned with my medical, you know, studies and training. So just take my advice. All right. And you want to talk to people and listen to people that are actually doing it than just theoretical, right? So, I mean, I've been doing this anti-aging process for a long time. Like I said, since I was 16 years old. Now, the reason why people would say, why would you have been doing this anti-aging stuff? You know, well, heart disease runs in my mother's family. And I saw a lot of people die at a young age because of heart attacks. My uncle died at age 36 from a heart attack. My other uncle died from a heart attack on a racquetball court at age 46. His best friend was a cardiologist at U of M, and died in front of them because they were playing racquetball together. True story. All right. My mother had multiple heart attacks. Her first one was age 40. You know, I just have seen a lot of people that passed away from heart attacks. All right. My brother died from a heart attack at age 36. I just have been very vigilant about this. All right. Starting all the way back to age 16. All right. So, and I've learned a lot from there. All right. And now I'm in my 50s. I don't look 50. All right. The reason why is because of this protocol that I've been doing over time and tweaking it and learning and certain new things that come onto the market and stacking it differently and listening to other anti-aging longevity gurus and what they're doing and learning from them and understanding the science of aging is a lot more now, especially in the last 5 years, than it was 10 or 15 years ago. So a lot has been learned in how to stack stuff. All right. So I have a core protocol. All right. And that core protocol is max 35 or max 14 for the first pillar that helps with your immune system. The second pillar is to take C60, a very potent antioxidant. The third pillar is to bring down inflammation to boost up your immune system. That's turmeric, ashwagandha, and lignans. And the fourth pillar is to take Boomer Boost, which is a powder that's 68 different nutrients in it to boost up your energy levels and your metabolism. When you use that core protocol and you add stuff to it, or you customize it in certain ways, and I'll talk about that throughout this broadcast, you can improve your health. All right. It works. Now, what's interesting is that I was at an event. It was a very big event. It was like, I don't know, 350 people or more. The event was Dr. Sinclair talking. He's from Harvard Medical School. He's a Ph.D. and he's a researcher in the aging process. All right. And I listened to his talk. All right. I was in the audience. I was listening to his talk and what his protocol is. And I'm not joking. I'm not talking in hyperbole. I'm not trying to just sell you stuff. My protocol is better than Dr. Sinclair's. All right. The reason why is Dr. Sinclair is only focused on sirtuins. All right. And sirtuins help to repair DNA. Right. But he's only focused on NMN. And he's also focused on 3 genes that help to roll back old cells into a younger version by changing the methylation of the cell. And those genes are the OSK genes. Okay. But to reverse the OSK genes, you have to transfect yourself with a virus. So you can't do this. You know? So the whole point here is that if you listen to my protocol, it is the most, I'm totally upfront with this. My protocol is the most comprehensive than anybody out there because it's targeting multiple pathways to slow down the aging process. Now, Dr. Sinclair is very famous, very well known, and has a lot of money now. All right. And he's got a big lab. But he didn't go to medical school. He got a Ph.D. All right. And there's nothing wrong with I have a Ph.D. There's nothing wrong with that. But I also went to medical school. I know how the human body works. Dr. Sinclair doesn't. He doesn't think like a clinician. He thinks like a Ph.D. that's very narrow-minded. And to solve this aging problem, you have to attack it with multiple vectors. You have to attack it and with multiple systems. And that's why my protocol is better and the most comprehensive out there that you can afford. All right. So please go to my store and listen to how I stack it. Now I'm done with my little pontification. So one great series of products that I have are lozenges and drops. Now, why should you be taking my lozenges and drops? First of all, it's made from structural nanosilver. You want to mitigate the irritant right away. All right. If you mitigate the irritant right away with lozenges and drops, you're creating secretions that are protecting your mucosal lining in your oral cavity and your oral pharynx. And by creating that barrier and improving the epithelial lining, you are mitigating further problems with the irritant. And those irritants are coming during cold season and during the allergy season. Now, if you are chronically sick, even if it is minor, like only last 5 days or 7 days, right? And some sniffles, maybe a little bit of coughing, sore throat and all that stuff, all right? It will take you 2 to 3 weeks to heal. Now, it could be you feel fine after 5 days or 7 days, but your body is remodeling the damage that has happened to the cells where they are in reversible necrosis. When you're sick, you have cells that go in irreversible necrosis and then die, or they're in reversible necrosis and have to heal. It takes 2 to 3 weeks to heal damaged tissue that is reversible necrosis from an infection, even if it's benign, even if it's mild. So if you get 3 mild infections per year, you are either you are sick or healing from the sickness for 25% of the year. Now, do you think that your body is going to heal? Do you think that your body is going to age faster? Or do you think the body is going to age slower if you have 3 infections a year, even if they're minor? Your body speeds up the aging process. 1 reason, you've created a lot of inflammation. 2, your body is healing and putting all of its energy towards that and not repairing other areas of your body and healing slowly. This is the reason why, this is just one small reason. I have 100 small reasons why Dr. Sinclair is not as comprehensive as Dr. Paul Cottrell. Just this one example where it has nothing to do with sirtuins, has nothing to do with, it's just the simple idea, stop getting sick. And if you stop getting sick, you don't have to remodel your reversible necrosis tissues. Really simple idea. That's the difference between a Ph.D. that's narrow-minded versus someone that is a polymath. Now, what should you do? Please go to my store and get the Manuka honey lozenges or the elderberry zinc lozenges. You get 21 in each of these. The lozenges are larger than the drops. Now, I also have 3 different flavors for the drops. All of them are structural nanosilver, very high quality. Everything on my store is very high quality. Why? Because I take it. All right, so with the drops, you get 100 in each bag, and you can get it in blueberry, you can get it in cherry, and you can get it in honey and lemon. Okay, now the moment you have the irritation during the cold season or during the allergy season, take them right away, mitigate the problem. Like I said, it's going to help to create a barrier, create these secretions, and help with the epithelial lining in your oral cavity and your oral pharynx. That's really important, all right? Having that, so what you're doing is you're basically boosting up your immune system. Your innate immune system is a barrier, all right? So it's one part of your innate immune system is the barrier part of your system. So improve that, all right? Pay attention. Get a few bags for your household, have some at work and have some at home. You never know when you need them. You never know when you're going to get the allergy or getting, some sort of cold or whatever from someone. The moment you have it, take it and continue taking it throughout that irritation, all right? It's made from structural nanosilver. Please go to my store, use discount 5. It's all caps, discount 5. And this is a great way to help with your health. All right. Like I said, it's about a holistic approach. You got to look at this. If you think that there's one thing that's going to stop everything and give you longevity and good health, you're wrong. It's a holistic approach, and it's about stacking, but also about proper diet, exercise, mindfulness. All right. Really important. If someone says just you do yoga, no, or just sit there and meditate, wrong. There's lots of fat Buddhas, all right, that have diabetes. So, all right, with that, let's go to the live now where they're talking about Palestinians could be ousted to Sudan or Somalia from Gaza. This is live now.
Yeah, to the Middle East right now, as we have this image that you've probably seen a few times over the past several months, that is over at the Israel-Gaza border. We are following a developing story here as the U.S. and Israel have reached out to officials of 3 Eastern African governments to talk about using their territories as potential destinations for resettling Palestinians displaced from the Gaza Strip under President Trump's proposal for after the war. Those contacts are with Sudan, Somalia, and a breakaway region of Somalia. Officials from Sudan say they do not want this, and officials in Somalia say they have not heard of any official proposal just yet. Under the plan from President Trump, Gaza's more than 2 million people would be permanently sent elsewhere. He's proposed the U.S. would take ownership of the territory, oversee the lengthy cleanup process, and develop Gaza as a real estate project. Palestinians have rejected the proposal and dismiss Israeli claims that people leaving Gaza would do so voluntarily. Arab nations have expressed opposition as well and offered an alternative reconstruction plan that would leave the Palestinians where they are. U.S. and Israeli officials have now officially confirmed to the Associated Press that they have made contact with Sudan and Somalia. Still, a lot of unknowns and a lot to talk about, so I do want to bring in Hussein Abdul Hussein, Research Fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today.
Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Well, first off, I just want to get your overall expertise, your thoughts here about that plan, the contact made with Sudan and Somalia.
Well, I think these countries need the money, and if they're rewarded handsomely, they would agree to such a thing. But the question here is that, will the Gazans want to move to countries like Sudan at the time the Sudanese themselves are fleeing their own country? So, I mean, I think what the world should do right now is offer Gazans the opportunity to leave, or not leave, but at least, open the door for them. They've been sitting in this strip with the Egyptian border closed for some time. So just offer these Palestinians opportunities to travel. Many of them have families all over the planet. Some of them can go, some of them would need some assistance. But if we need, at this point, just, open the door for the willing to leave, and then after that, whoever remains, we can think of how to deal with the remaining population. I think that would be much better than talking to governments who are not reliable in the first place, such as Sudan or Somalia.
We've talked about President Trump's proposal overall for what happens after the war is over to Gaza. My question for you is, who has the final say about what does happen to Gaza after the war? Is that even clear?
Well, it's not clear. I think each party is claiming that they have authority. First and foremost, of course, Hamas. They think that they will be coming back to rule the Strip. And after Hamas, of course, the corrupt Palestinian Authority, that they think that the world should beat Hamas for them and hand the Strip over to them. We've also seen the what was called the Egyptian plan, or the air plan that was endorsed at the Emergency Air Summit in Cairo on March 4. I think that plan was a big disappointment. Many of us had high hopes pinned on the plan, and it ended up technically saying nothing. I think the Arab League can act responsible on this. They have enough legitimacy to ask Palestinians to do what would be in the Palestinian best interest. Unfortunately, they haven't done it on March 4.
We've heard from a spokesperson for the Hamas Terror Group. They released a statement to the Associated Press and said that they will release the last living American hostage after speaking with President Trump and his administration there, as well as the bodies of 4 other hostages who have not survived after being in captivity for more than 500 days. Is that a legitimate situation there, or should we expect something else from that? Could that actually happen?
Well, first of all, I think all of us welcome any release of the hostages with Hamas, whether they're alive or just dead bodies. I think no one would say no to that. However, I have to add that it's not in our interest for Hamas to talk to us as Americans on one side and to the Israelis on the other side. There should be no daylight between the two of us. Hamas shouldn't think that they can be able to peel the United States away from Israel and then deal with the Israeli hostages alone. So I'm just thinking, well, it's great to see whoever released. We need to reassert to Hamas that this doesn't mean that Hamas has now bought favor or bought off the United States and made it sit on the side and leave Israel on its own. I think we have to reiterate to Hamas that even after we get these dead bodies and hopefully whoever is still alive, even after that, we will still support Israel until the last Israeli hostage, Hamas releases.
I have to ask, as we take this live look over the Israel-Gaza border here, Hebrew media is reporting that Prime Minister Netanyahu and the Strategic Affairs Minister Ron Dermer ran a, quote, crazy campaign to prevent the deal between the U.S. and Hamas regarding the release of the American hostages, both living and dead. If true, and this goes to what you were just talking about, would that potentially strain the relationship between the U.S. and Israel?
I hope not. And like I'm saying, it might sound as if they were trying to obstruct the release. I don't think that was their case. If this really happened, I think that they're thinking, like I was saying, we should stay on the same team. We shouldn't make or draw any differences between the dual nationals, Israeli Americans, and the non-dual nationals, Israelis without any other passport. So this shouldn't be the case. Now, I'm happy if the dual nationals are out, but this shouldn't become the rule for Hamas to benefit from. We should reiterate our position that we're still pushing for everybody to get out.
We heard from Iran's president and supreme leader after President Trump had reached out and pretty much said the talks over nuclear deal and that really situation in general needed to happen, or there would be U.S. military intervention. So I want to ask kind of your take on this. What would military intervention be like in Iran? And would that happen? Would the U.S. actually send troops onto the ground in Iran?
I don't think military intervention would need any boots on the ground. I think what we're talking about here is reversing the concession that the world gave Iran under President Obama. And this concession is the Iranians call it the Iranian right to enriching uranium. This is not a right given to nations. Only a handful of nations in the world do enrich uranium. The Iranians shouldn't have been granted this concession. And I think it's about time that we make clear to the Iranians that they cannot enrich uranium on their territory. They cannot be trusted with doing so because most of the reports indicate that they're trying to dash towards producing a nuclear bomb. So with this said, I think if there's ever military action, military action against Iran, I think it will be pinpointed, and that will be the goal of the military action, to take out uranium enrichment facilities and make sure that Iran does not enrich any uranium. I don't see any boots on the ground. I don't see any toppling of regimes. I don't see anything happening past that. Iran might want to respond, but I don't see a full-scale war breaking out between us and the Iranians.
All right, Hussein Abdul Hussein, thank you so much for taking the time, as always, to join us here. Anything else you want to add before I let you go?
Not really. Have a nice weekend, Josh.
All right. Okay, before we go to the next video, I probably will do, I think I'm going to do a, maybe a Fox News video here. But please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the great stacks that I talk about. Another great stack here is, I'm going to show you, is a 3 combo here. Digestive enzyme complex is really important to take, especially if you're an athlete or if you're 40 years old, all right, or older, all right? The reason why is that we have to pay attention to the health of our pancreas. As we get older, no matter how healthy you are, your pancreas does not function as well as it used to be when you were younger, okay? And when you are an athlete, you are overusing your pancreas, all right? Especially when you're, fueling for your workouts and your athletics, because you're burning a lot of calories, all right? So you want to take a supplement that helps to reduce the load on your pancreas. And digestive enzyme complex does that. It helps to break up carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids, reduce the load on the pancreas. So it'll help you to digest your foods and you'll have better absorption. That means you'll have more energy. And that means that you will have just overall better gut health too. Because if you have undigested food, it's going to cause irritation. You don't want that, all right? So take digestive enzyme complex. This also has bromelain in it, so it'll break up clots because bromelain is fibrinolytic, and because of the proteases that are in here, you're breaking up glycoproteins. That was really important, especially in 2020. So please get the digestive enzyme complex. If you're an athlete, take this, and it'll help you to break up your pre or post fueling for your workout or for your sport that you're in. All right, but it's very important, especially if you're 40 years of age or older, to take this every day. Bad pancreas is bad, really bad. All right, so you want to reduce the load on your pancreas. So please go to my store, get the digestive enzyme complex, and it'll help with your digestion. Now, to boost up your immune system with the stack is to take the magnesium and zinc. Take it every day. If you're not feeling well, take a double dose. Take 1 dose in the morning, take 1 dose in the evening. And then once you start feeling better, then go back to your maintenance dose, daily maintenance dose of just once a day. But magnesium and zinc, and also vitamin C and magnesium, is important to take every day. Drink filtered water. It's water soluble. So please go to my store, get the magnesium and zinc, and taking a really important multivitamin that's easy to digest. All right. This multivitamin is easy to digest. There are a lot of people out there that have problems with digestion. So guess what? Take this. It'll reduce that irritation when you're taking a vitamin. Now, multivitamins and minerals are really important for your cells because they are cofactors for enzymatic activity. So certain vitamins and minerals will attach to enzymes and change the conformation of that enzyme, and the enzyme will perform better in the cell. So you're improving your cellular processes, meaning that your cells will function better. All right. That's why it's so important to take this multivitamin. Everybody should be taking a multivitamin. Everybody should be taking a probiotic, just baseline. That's really important for everybody. All right. But a great stack to help with your immune system, to help with your cellular processes, and to help with your digestion, and to break up carbohydrates, lipids, and proteins, is to take the digestive enzyme complex, take the multivitamin, and take the magnesium and zinc. This is a great stack right here, all right, to get on your journey for proper health, right? Go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, use discount 5. I want these products in your hand. Why? They're extremely high quality. But not only that, these are products that I take every day. Now, I take a lot of stuff, all right? I know some people do take everything I take, all right? But many people can't afford it. I understand that. So I've created different stacks telling you how that you can to plug into getting healthy, all right? So these are products that I take. All right. And guess what? I'm older than Alex Jones. And guess what? Alex Jones looks a lot older than Dr. Paul Cottrell. Now, we were talking about Dr. Sinclair. Now, Dr. Sinclair, that I saw at that book event that he did, he dyes his hair. All right. I don't dye my hair. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Now, he's a longevity guru from the Harvard Medical School, and he dyes his hair. Can you really trust a person that dyes their hair and they're saying they're a longevity guru about sirtuins? The answer is no. All right. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the multivitamin, get the digestive enzyme, and get the magnesium zinc. It's a great stack. I also have anti-aging boxes and longevity boxes at different price points, stacking different things to get people healthy. So get on this journey. I want you healthy in 2025. I wish I knew and had available all this stacking and medical knowledge before my brother died. All right. So if you take my advice, you're going to get healthier. And it's a compounding effect. Once you have more energy, you're going to be moving around. You're going to enjoy your life more. And guess what? You just have more vitality. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. It's the-studio-reykjavik.com. Link is in the description of this video. Use discount 5, all caps, number 5, discount 5, and get $5 off. Stack it like I said. Right? I give you 1,000 different ways to stack this stuff. All right, now with that, I want to take a look at it was Alan Dershowitz. I saw one on Alan Dershowitz. Maybe if I can find it again. I might have lost it. Let's go to Fox News. This was published 4 hours ago.
Let's bring in national security and military analyst, Dr. Rebecca Grant. Dr. Grant, picking up where I left off with Lucas on that last question. Yes, the Houthis are the target, but it's just as much a message to the Ayatollahs in Tehran, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And all I can say about these strikes is, finally, this situation in the Red Sea has dragged on just far, far, far too long. What I'm hoping is that we'll see a really consistent and sustained campaign against the main targets that the Houthis are using to attack shipping. And that should include everything from weapon storage to command and control and radar sites. And because Iran supplies and supports the Houthis, of course, backed by China, who has recently sent a ship with missile propellant ingredients over to Iran, so Iran will get this message as well. And great work here by the Harry S. Truman, Carrier Air Wing 1. And of course, there'll be some land-based U.S. Air Force fighters participating too. It's great to see our joint forces in action. General Cottrell is doing the right thing.
Why did we tolerate this? I mean, as I mentioned with Lucas, the U.S. Navy was in the most sustained combat campaign since World War II under the previous administration. Why did we put up with it?
That's right. They played zone defense and did a tremendous job knocking down drones, missiles, taking out unmanned surface vessels. And John, we used a rotation at the end, 5 different aircraft carriers, starting with the Gerald Ford right after the October 7th attacks, and coming up now to the Harry S. Truman. We've had an aircraft carrier in that region consistently since then. What I like is seeing us use the striking power. President Trump has been really smart to use the striking power of the U.S. aircraft carrier to really get after these Houthi rebels. Remember, that's an illegitimate regime. The UN doesn't recognize them. They've been there a long time, but they're now creating a level of chaos, and we can't afford to have shipping closed off and our forces pinned down. So it was time to take offensive action, and I'm really glad President Trump has done it.
The regime may be illegitimate, but there are about 35 million people or so in Yemen, and virtually all of them are under the control of the Houthis. So is this possibly the first stage of knocking that regime out of power?
Interesting question. I don't know if regime change is the goal here. I think we really want to see them take out military capability. That will be the primary job. I would not be surprised to see these strikes go on for a little bit. And then again, this has really got to send that message to Iran to stop supplying. We want to take out the weapon storage areas, the radar sites. And Iran has a ship there that they use to help the Houthis target maritime traffic. We need to end all of that. And so I hope the Ayatollah is really going to reconsider his military support down there, and that we use our U.S. military forces in a way that makes a very strong statement that we're done. We're done with these attacks against international shipping. This cannot go on, no matter how much Yemeni Houthi military capability we have to blow up.
Yeah, the Houthis are already saying that 9 civilians have been killed in these attacks, 9 injured, that according to the health ministry that the Houthis run. In a situation like this, you probably cannot avoid civilian casualties, but given the level of bombardment that is apparently underway, I'm surprised if that number is real, and we don't absolutely have a way to verify that, but I'm surprised there aren't more.
Avoiding civilian casualties is a big requirement. This is part of the reason for striking at night. And remember, every target selected goes through a collateral damage evaluation, particularly if it's a building that's close in among some civilian facilities. But the vast majority of these things are straight up legitimate military targets, active radar sites, active missile launch sites, etc. And I know that our planners in Central Command are being extremely careful to target military targets. That's what they want to hit. They don't want to waste ordnance either. We don't want to see collateral damage. They want to get after their target objectives and get that task done.
President Trump liked to point to the fact that during his first term, there were no wars launched, but is this tantamount to launching a war against the Houthis?
Reminds me more of President Trump's first term campaign against ISIS, when in a pretty short amount of time, he wiped out the rest of that caliphate. I think it would be great for the Houthis to meet the same fate of being militarily taken apart as a viable military operation. They're doing absolutely no good. They are terrorists, they are pirates, they are affecting world shipping, and they've launched strikes against Israel. And what a mistake they made to pop back up, trying to influence events in Gaza yet again. Now they're going to feel the full weight of U.S. military power with the aircraft carriers, our fighters. B-2 bomber wouldn't surprise me as well. And that's due to President Trump. You know, the new sheriff in town, we are doing a new policy, and this is it for the Houthis.
I kind of wonder if they're the equivalent of the last man standing. I mean, Iran has its proxy armies, Hezbollah and Hamas. Those have been decimated by the Israelis. Now they've got the Houthis are sort of the last big force left, aren't they? And you know, is Iran about to see a triumvirate of defeats, I guess, among its proxy forces?
An excellent point. And as much as Hamas and Hezbollah have been decimated, I'd like to see the Houthi armament capability go down. Yes, I think we are looking at getting after one of the last big operational legs of Iran's terror mechanism. They really support so many terrorists around the world, always, of course, backed up by China, who buys 90% of Iran's oil and keeps Iran financially in the game.
Dr. Rebecca Grant, thank you for your expertise. We'll talk to you again. Click here to subscribe.
Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the Max 14 or the Max 35. This is the first pillar of that 4-pillar protocol that I have. By taking Max 14 or Max 35, you're helping boost up your immune system. Really important. The second pillar is to take C60, soaks up those free radicals. The third pillar, take turmeric, ashwagandha, and lignans to reduce inflammation, and Boomer Boost to boost up your energy levels and your metabolism. Please go to my store, take the Max 14 or the Max 35, take a teaspoon a day, gargle, swish it in your mouth, 30 seconds or so, and then swallow. All right? Do that every day. If you're not feeling well, take a tablespoon or 2 a day. Do the same thing. Please go to my store, get the Max 14, Max 35. This is very important. I take this every day as part of this 4-pillar protocol. So please follow my advice, follow my lead, and you'll do okay. All right. Now, another great supplement that you should be taking, all right, now is omega-3. Omega-3 helps with your cardiovascular health. It brings down the LDL levels and raises your HDL levels. So you're improving your total cholesterol. It also helps with systemic inflammation. It's going to calm down that systemic inflammation. So when you are reducing inflammation and you're helping your total cholesterol profile, you're reducing the chances of plaque buildup. Really important. People don't realize it is in your early life, like around 16 in the United States, around 16 years old, when you start cardiovascular problems. What happens is there's inflammation that starts to build up, and then you get what is called a yellow streak. And the yellow streak is the early plaque formation that's taking place. And once you transition into your 30s or 40s, depending on your lifestyle, you are having a buildup of this plaque, and you are now reducing the flow in certain areas of your blood vessels, especially in the carotid. So it's really important. It's about diet, exercise, supplementation, and bringing down that inflammation. Now, the cascade to build up plaque is, it starts with inflammation. Having an increased level of your LDL that's oxidized, so increased LDL, also increased free radicals that causes the oxidation of the LDL. And then because there's inflammation and slight microscopic tearing of the intima of your blood vessels, what happens is that oxidized LDL gets in the middle of your blood vessel and creates a signal that sends macrophages to it. So the macrophages eat up the LDL, oxidized. Well, that macrophage now turns into a foam cell, and that is the plaque that's building up. So to have plaque build up, you have to have inflammation. You have to have free radicals in your bloodstream. You have to have damage because of the inflammation on your intima. And when that all happens, you are starting to build up plaque. And that's starting at age 16, typically in the United States. 16 years old, you start having cardiovascular disease. Fact. You don't feel it. It's asymptomatic. You start having problems when your blood pressure is hard, or you're just not feeling well, or your blood flow, or there's more clots or whatever, right? So pay attention. It's proper diet, exercise, and proper supplementation. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the omega-3. Very important to take every day. Oh, and by the way, omega-3 helps to prevent the red blood cells from sticking too much. So that's reducing clots, reducing clot formation. So please go to my store and get the omega-3. This stacks really well with natto kinase and other supplements that help with your cardiovascular health. I have a longevity box called the Cardiovascular Health Box. It's at a discount. You take all those supplements, and guess what? You're reducing your chances of building up plaque. And if you do that protocol for a whole year, guess what? What you have built up will shrink. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, use discount 5, and you get $5 off. It behooves you to really pay attention to what I have to say, because I am the most comprehensive on this than anybody that you listen to. Anybody. But like I said, with Dr. Sinclair, he's so narrow-minded because he's so focused on sirtuins and not looking at the holistic approach to the body. But he's the famous one. But he's still wrong. And oh, by the way, he has to dye his hair to make it look like he's younger. But the reason why he has to dye his hair to make him so he looks younger is because his protocol is wrong. Okay. All right. I want to transition. I don't know how well this video is going to play out. This is Alan Dershowitz warning the Jewish nation. All right. It's a little lengthy. I'll probably try to skip through this. We'll see what happens. If I have not seen this video, I don't know, but let's see what they have to say. So Alan Dershowitz, Jews have no idea what's really happening in America right now. So let's just get an idea.
Anti-Semitism is like a virus. I think the first person to say this that I know of was Lord Jonathan Sachs. And what does he mean? It mutates. Basically, the virus can, sort of like what we've seen which happened with COVID. Viruses learn how to adapt to different environments and reshape themselves.
He's saying a lot of words that trigger stuff. I'm going to fast forward that. Let's get to the point, dude.
We're too far.
There you go. So please, if you could elaborate on what you mean when you say we're facing a new anti-Semitism. What is new?
Anti-Semitism is as old as recorded history and maybe older than that.
Yeah, but why do we need a Harvard professor to tell us this? Let's continue.
It, like viruses, it mutates.
All right. I know what I get what he's saying. All right. Because of the censorship on YouTube, and he keeps on saying words, and because I'm trying to give you ideas to improve your health, if certain words are in the background and certain things that I tell you to do to improve your health, the algorithm makes a correlation that I'm saying things together, which I'm not. So I can't even play this fucking video because of this. This is the crazy crap I got to deal with the censorship on YouTube. You know? I can't even play this video because of the words they're using, even though it has nothing to do with the subject matter. We're not living in a free country. Wake up. All right. Unfortunately, I can't even play that video without getting strikes. That's a damn shame. All right. But of course, you'll have anti-Semite, Semites out there saying that I'm trying to just censor, a certain perspective, which I'm not. But all right. Oh well. All right. Let's. I wanted to take a look at. I want to go to Fox Business. They're talking about President Xi.
Welcome back. President Trump signing an executive memorandum which limits China's access to U.S. markets as part of his America First investment policy. This policy orders the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States to block Chinese investments in sensitive sectors such as technology, energy, and defense. It also looks into new auditing standards while pushing Mexico to impose its own tariffs on Chinese imports. And it aims to limit investment from U.S. pension and endowment funds into Chinese companies. Joining me now is the former Senior Director of International Economic Affairs at the Reagan National Security Council, Roger Robertson Jr., back with us. Roger, great to see you.
Great to see you.
And you were very happy about President Trump's America First investment policy.
I certainly was. I mean, the word of the hour in this country is clarity. And the president certainly brought clarity to how he feels about U.S. investors via our capital markets and private equity funds funneling money into Chinese military industrial companies. I mean, he couldn't have been starker and clearer. I just have a quick quote or two from the document.
Yes, go ahead.
It says the United States will use all necessary legal instruments to further deter United States persons from investing in the PRC's military industrial complex. He goes on, the United States will establish new rules to stop United States companies and investors from investing in industries that advance the PRC's national military civil fusion strategy.
Well, I was so happy to see this as well, because you and I have been talking about this for years, literally. We've worked together on the Underwriting the Enemy series for Fox Nation. And this is something that we continually point out, that so many companies that are trading on our exchanges, U.S. exchanges, are Chinese companies that don't even follow the same audit rules that regular companies, American companies do. And they're tied to the PRC. So what do we have happening here? Ordinary investors funding the expansion of America's number one adversary.
Well, that's certainly the case. Over the past 25 years, we've seen some 5,000 Chinese companies enter our capital markets. No screening, no diligence, no regulatory oversight, no even interest in whether they're being sanctioned by the United States simultaneously. All manner of corporate bad actors, including the sanctioned variety, as you often pointed out, are in this mix. We're talking about companies that have been implicated in, for example, equipping concentration camps, trafficking in slave labor, aiding and abetting genocide in Xinjiang, the architects of the surveillance state. But the president was really focused on something even more dangerous and insidious, which is our company, those Chinese companies that are directly involved in the manufacturing of advanced weapon systems for China. For example, the hypersonic glide vehicle, the last two aircraft carriers, 6th generation fighter aircraft, and modernized ICBMs targeting American families, not just military installations.
Well, I think that President Trump is clear-eyed about China as the #1 adversary of America, but
we're Phoenix Energy, a family-owned oil company focused on unleashing American oil from North Dakota and Montana. We've already sold over 2.9 million barrels.
Is the #1 adversary of America, but you know, he knows he's got to get along with China. It's the 2nd largest economy. So that's why I think he says things like Xi Jinping is my friend. I get along with Xi Jinping at the same time that he's slapping tariffs on China.
Well, thank goodness that that there's a two-faced event, in a sense, in the best sense of the term, going on here. I think the president is a serious diplomatic fellow, and he knows how to keep these guys on side to the extent that he can. But when it comes to the vital interests of the United States, he's there foursquare. And one of the most difficult has been the matter of the capital markets and private investor funds. I mean, these have flowed in the trillions of dollars over these 25 years.
Yeah.
And you can just imagine, we wake up in the morning and we wonder, how did they become a near peer competitor to us militarily? Here's your answer.
Some of those very common.
The tabs being picked up largely by scores of millions of unwitting American retail investors.
By the way, some of those companies that you're referring to were part of the Chinese spy balloon, right? I mean, their propaganda, their surveillance, all of these tactics from the CCP. But when you're talking specifically about public companies, Wall Street wants that money. Chinese battery company Cottrell supplies 37% of the global battery market. It's going to go public. It's looking to raise $7.7 billion in Hong Kong. The company is linked to the Chinese military, obviously. It's putting it on the U.S. entity blacklist, Roger. You say J.P. Morgan, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley are all still lining up behind this company despite a presidential directive against funding blacklisted Chinese companies.
This is the problem with the U.S. banking industry, especially investment banking. They are willing to sell their grandmother for a buck. And what's even worse, selling their grandmother for a buck, is selling our Constitution down the river. And this is the problem with Wall Street. And these bankers, they are transnational capitalists. They have no care what they're doing to the country in long term. So they send their kids to private schools, very elite institutions, thinking their kids have nothing to worry about. Meanwhile, the poor and the middle class are going to have to fight the next war that they just helped fund. It's ridiculous.
And we're still, this IPO, which is a secondary listing out of Hong Kong, and we just heard from Sebastian Lai very eloquently this morning about the fact that Hong Kong has become just another Chinese city gripped in repression. So there's nothing going on there in terms of a legitimate, credible financial hub as there has been.
What a shame, and what a shame.
It is. And so, but that 7.7 billion could easily go up 2 or 3 times because of the appetite. You know, in 2023, there were 66 IPOs out of Hong Kong. A total price tag of or value of 5.5 billion, so that you can see in perspective the size of this thing. J.P. Morgan and B of A are the lead managers, or some say co-sponsors. It's a little unclear what second tier role Goldman and Morgan Stanley are playing. But here we have, as you pointed out, a company that's on not one blacklist, namely the Pentagon list, but 2, the Commerce Department list. And folks should be required reading the June 5th, 2024 letter sent by then Senator Marco Rubio, along with John Molinar, who chairs the House Select Committee on China. They sent a letter to Homeland Security that is exhaustively documented, that pleaded for that company to be added to the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act entity list as well.
Yeah.
So if he had had it his way, that is our current Secretary of State, we'd be on 3 blacklists now. And yet, even despite the president's directive, you see that, again, we're seeing this dance by uncontested.
I think you make such a great point. I mean, what's the point of a blacklist and putting these companies on blacklists if, in fact, they're going to just blow up the blacklist and still be able to raise billions of dollars and go public and have investors expanding the reach of the CCP? You've also identified 40 publicly traded Chinese companies in the United States.
These bankers are anti-Trump. How do I know? I actually are in events. And, during cocktail hour or whatever, guess what? When you rub elbows with these people, they start having these little comments about how they, don't like Trump's policies and blah, 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 because it's affecting their positions because of the tariffs or whatever. These people are literally dismantling the United States, and they are on the beneficial end, the financial end of this, benefiting from it. People need to wake up. People need to wake up. These people, the people that are in power, especially investment banking, most of them hate Trump, and they don't care about what they do to the country in the long term, as long as they are making money. Meanwhile, everybody else's sons and daughters have to fight the war.
With strategic links to Iran attracting at least $6.25 billion to date. So you've got the Iranian bad actors as well. Tell us about that.
Well, that's about a year old in terms of the data, but we went then and did that together, as you'll recall. And what we found in that research effort was, again, 40 publicly traded of China's largest companies in the military, energy, communication and surveillance and infrastructure sectors that are keeping Iran a going concern. And yet we found, catch this, every one of those 40 are somewhere in the portfolios of American retail investors. Do you know that companies like Vanguard had 38 of the 40 1 year ago? I can't speak to it more recently. State Street was, a similar 32, I think.
Well, you're talking about those companies are in exchange traded funds.
Yes,
yeah.
Indeed. It's those index funds that you have to watch, as they say,
yeah.
Because that's where these companies are secreted.
This is very important information, Roger. We so appreciate you bringing this to us because this is
Wake up, America. Your country's being sold by the banker. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Let me tell you the stack that will help with your cardiovascular health and your bone health. Let's talk about the bone health first. All right. You want to do some resistance training, taking calcium either through a supplement or drink milk. I prefer drinking milk. Now, take vitamin K2. It's going to help with the absorption. And take vitamin D3. This stack is very powerful to help to absorb that calcium, but that weightlifting is going to send a positive signal to your bones and your joints, and that signal is going to help to activate osteoblasts. These are cells that will actually deposit new bone matrix, and over time your bone density will improve. This is really important to do, especially when you get to about age 40 and you start losing bone density. Now, it happens more for females than males. All right. But if you start losing activity, even for males, you're going to lose bone density. So it's really important to supplement with calcium, drink milk, but also take vitamin D3 and K2 MK7 molecule. These are very high quality supplements. Take them every day. You get another benefit by taking the D3. It's also helping with gene expression and getting rid of cells that need to go into apoptosis. Super important for your overall health, just vitamin D3. But taking vitamin D3 with K2 is going to help with bone health, especially when you're doing that resistance training. Another thing that you want to do to help with bone health is create a vibration with the bone that you're trying to improve on. All right. So what happens, there's research has shown that if you are just doing like toe lifts, all right, so you just lift up your toes and just, all right, with your legs, and then have your heel come down on the ground, you're creating a vibration up through your leg, and that vibration signal is actually telling the osteoblasts to secrete bone matrix. Okay, so doing like jump roping or running will help. Doing isometrics that allow for you to have some sort of vibration, jumping up and down, those kinds of things on top of weight training will help to improve that bone density. All right, so very important little trick that Dr. St. Clair doesn't know. But okay, with that, now the stack for cardiovascular health. Now the stack with the cardiovascular health, taking nattokinase is going to help prevent or help to break up clots. Okay, so once a clot forms, you need fibrinolytics to be able to break up the clot. So nattokinase is a fibrinolytic. So nattokinase helps to break up the clots, but it also will help to bring down LDL levels and increase your HDL levels. So it's improving your total cholesterol profile. When you mix it with K2 and D3 together, this is helping with your cardiovascular health. Why? D3 and K2 together with proper diet and exercise will actually reduce the amount of calcium that's being deposited around plaque. Because a lot of people don't know. So you build up this plaque, and then what happens is you also have calcium that deposits within the plaque or around the plaque, typically around the plaque. And so that's the reason why they do calcium screenings, to pick up that calcium. And there's a correlation between the amount of calcium that's built up relative to the plaque. All right. Now, I had a calcium screening when I was 50 years old. I had that calcium screening showed 0 plaque buildup. So it's really important. All right. Take vitamin K2, MK7, and D3, and it's going to help reduce that depositing of that calcium. And also the calcium that has been deposited, it'll slowly over time pull out into your bloodstream. Okay. Now, again, nattokinase help with your lipid profile and also to break up clots because it's fibrinolytic. Great stack. This is a subset of a larger stack that I have in my cardiovascular longevity box. So it's the longevity cardiovascular box. If you want the full stack, all right, that will help to reduce plaque formation, and over time, within a year or more, you're actually going to have less blockage. So if you have a blocked carotid artery of, let's say, 50%, in a year, you may bring that down to maybe 35%. Another year, maybe down to 15%. You can't get rid of it all. That's impossible. But you can drastically change the blockage. And you do it slowly over time. With proper diet, proper exercise, and the supplementation, especially in the longevity cardiovascular box, that will shrink the plaque and reduce the chances of building up more plaque. Now, why? It's bringing down inflammation, soaking up free radicals, reducing LDL. And when you do all that, you're reducing the plaque. All right? It's a really simple concept. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Trust me, you don't want to have a stroke. You don't want to have a heart attack. A lot of people, they're not paying attention. They think they're really healthy. They don't get their calcium screening. They're working out, but they don't realize they have blockage in their carotid, or have blockage in their arteries. And then all of a sudden, bam, they're having chest pain, crushing chest pain. They're rushed to the hospital, and they're literally, in their eyes, you can see the fear of death. And they'll do anything in their power to get rid of the angel of death from them. But it's a lot of times too late. Some people die there. If you catch it a little bit early, if you're in that golden hour, maybe you can save them. Maybe give them a PCI, you know, an angioplasty or a stent, maybe save their life. But when that heart has already been damaged, the tissue is dying. And what happens is it scars. And then what happens after that is that scar tissue doesn't shoot the electrical signal properly. And it takes weeks for it to remodel. And a lot of people don't realize, and this is what happened to my brother. He had 2 heart attacks. The first heart attack, all right, and then all of the MI, all right. He didn't get a PCI because it was too late. There's medical reasons why that is. And then all of a sudden, 1 month later, he has another MI and dies. Now, what it is what happens is when your heart is trying to remodel with the scarring, it doesn't shoot the electrical signals properly. So your heart doesn't pump properly. Not just that, that tissue that's starting to scar becomes weak and it can kind of balloon out and blow up. So that's the reason why you have to be really careful that first 14 days after your MI, or your heart will balloon out and blow up, literally blow up. Now, do you want that? Or do you prefer to like pay attention to me before you have that problem? Because guess what? There's an awful lot of people, they wish they paid attention when they're in the ER, when they're having that heart attack, and they see their life blowing past their eyes, you know, fast flash of life. And you see the fear. But usually it's too fucking late by then. All right. Let's listen to the deep state John Bolton, where literally the deep state is in his mustache.
Mr. Ambassador, it's great to see you again today.
Well, thanks for having me. Glad to be with you.
So a lot's been happening recently. Donald Trump took office less than 2 months ago, and already he's rushing to end the war in Ukraine. Many people say, though, it's on terms that Russia would prefer. But what do you make of all that's been happening?
Well, I think people should understand Trump is really an aberration in American political life. Obviously, he's president, so it makes a big difference. But he has no philosophy. He has no national security grand strategy. He doesn't do policy as we conventionally understand that term. With him, everything is transactional, episodic, ad hoc, and seen through the prism of what benefits Donald Trump. So he has said many times he sees foreign policy as being equivalent to the relations between the heads of 2 governments. So if he has a good relationship with Vladimir Putin, he thinks the U.S. has good relations with Russia. Now, I'm not dismissing the role of personal relations in international affairs. It obviously has a place, but that's not how Putin sees things. He has a pretty clear-eyed view of what he thinks Russia's national interest in is, and he thinks he can manipulate Donald Trump. Trump thinks they're friends. Putin sees Trump as an easy mark. Trump just doesn't get it. Now, conversely, if Trump has bad relations with a foreign head of state, then he thinks the U.S. has bad relations with the country. And unfortunately for Ukraine, because of the famous perfect phone call between Trump and Zelensky in the summer of 2019 that led to Trump's first impeachment, I think he's never had a good relationship with Zelensky, notwithstanding Zelensky's extensive efforts to try and overcome it. And I think that is part of what we've seen play out over the past several weeks. So it is a fact that Trump has basically reversed the U.S. position, saying even before negotiations begin, there will not be a full
restoration of sovereignty and territorial integrity, no NATO membership, no NATO security guarantees, no U.S. security guarantees. These are all Kremlin positions. The only unhappiness in Moscow these days is that they didn't ask for more because they might have gotten it. So it's a hard place to be. I do think that the debacle in the Oval Office was a manifestation that Trump just doesn't like Zelensky. And now I think we're seeing an effort by Secretary of State Rubio and National Security Advisor Waltz to try and bridge this over and get things back on an even keel. And I think the agreement in Jeddah, not necessarily Ukraine's advantage, but clearly necessary to get a resumption of U.S. military and intelligence assistance. 30-day ceasefire, we'll see if the Kremlin agrees to it, but I understand the priority that Kyiv had in the restoration of the assistance, that they were willing to pay the price of agreeing to a ceasefire.
So you worked directly with President Trump in his first term. What's your takeaway? What does he actually feel himself about Ukraine or about Russia or about Vladimir Putin? A lot of people say that he's been going out of his way to help Russia out. What do you make of that?
Well, I think, as I say, he thinks he's friends with Putin. So your friends always tell you the truth, right? Just like he said in Helsinki that he believed Putin and disagreed with American intelligence on Russia's role in the 2016 election. Stunning to Americans that he would say that. But do you trust your friends or do you trust the deep state? That's the Trump mentality. I just think that it's important to try and work with Trump on that understanding that it's entirely personal, that he doesn't conceptualize foreign policy. There's no strategy behind it. His supporters say, he plays this complex game of three-dimensional chess. No, he doesn't. He plays regular chess, one move at a time, and that's all, one move at a time. So, there are theories that he was recruited by the Russians years ago. I don't see any evidence of it. I think his behavior is explainable, unfortunately, in simpler ways. And just for credibility in the American political debate, people should understand that the way I've described Trump is the way he operates on a day-to-day basis. There's no bigger picture. There's no hidden agenda. He just doesn't think that way. When he ran the Trump Organization business, I was told he would never set up a daily schedule. He'd come into the office every day and say, well, what's going to happen today? Now, that may work in real estate in Manhattan. It doesn't work internationally. But in many respects, Trump is still that same person.
That's fascinating. So when you worked with him, was he open to new ideas? When he would meet with, let's say, national security advisors, CIA, was he open to what they were saying? Or did he have pretty strong preconceived notions of what he was going to do, and he would act on them or cherry pick information to support the arguments he already had?
Well, it varied from issue to issue. In many cases, he knew nothing about a particular aspect of international affairs. He had no experience. He didn't know much about how the U.S. government operated or what its capabilities were. He didn't particularly care. He wasn't interested in learning. And so he could move from one position to another with total flexibility because he had nothing invested in the position he had taken earlier in the day since he hadn't thought it through. I mean, there are some things that he's always talked about. He likes low interest rates in the domestic economy. I think everybody in real estate likes low interest rates. He would just like them permanently. He obviously likes tariffs. That's why we're in the nascent trade war that we're in now. But in international affairs, other than his affinity for particular foreign leaders, he had no fixed points of reference, and so sure he could adopt ideas.
So according to Bolton, Trump is chaotic and with no strategy. But let's look at the other side. They had a grand strategy, aka Brzezinski, the grand chessboard. but the thing is that the deep state and these professionals that are part of the administrative state have gotten us into wars that we should never have gotten into. We have had never-ending warfare. The CIA has gotten us into so many different wars because of incompetence. So I think Trump is doing a pretty damn good job compared to the alternative. Now, do we want Brzezinski grand chessboard where it leads to technocracy, or a little bit of chaos by Trump? I prefer the chaos from Trump than this multiple decade screw up with our international policy, especially since the fall of the Berlin Wall. And I'll tell you, for ones that have studied the CIA in depth, most of their activity screws up our foreign policy and gets us into wars. That's a fact.
Very shortly thereafter, I said in my book that of the thousands of decisions that he made in his first term, you could take them all, put them together, and they were like a big archipelago of dots out there. Now, you can try and connect the dots if you want to. Good luck. He can't connect the dots. And understanding that, I think, obviously, is important, particularly in the case of Ukraine, given the circumstances, to help its leaders make decisions and try and navigate through that.
Well, a lot of people say that Donald Trump himself.
Well, let me get this straight. So if you de-escalate the war in Ukraine, you must be not part of the grand strategy. Now, what is the grand strategy? Resource extraction from Russia. Brought to you by CIA and Goldman Sachs.
Not be the best president, but he probably has great people around him who are advised or driving the actual decisions that the U.S. makes. Do you think that's true in the case of Russia and Ukraine?
It's very hard to tell. I will say, unlike the first Trump term, where the White House leaked like a sieve almost from day one, so far, less than 2 months in, but so far there really have been relatively few leaks.
Now, why do you think that is? Why do you think that is, Bolton? Because when Trump was in his first term, he trusted people, and certain people were elevated into important positions, and they actually leaked, slow walked his policies, thinking that they would be able to contain him. Now, he didn't win the 2020 election. He sits, plays golf, and starts thinking about, for 4 years, how he's going to make things better if he gets back into the White House. He gets back into the White House, and guess what? He started learning his lesson. There's certain people you just can't trust. Why? Because the administrative state doesn't want localization. The administration state doesn't want America First policy. The administrative state wants globalization, a weakened country where we're just integrated into some sort of new world order that, believe me, is not going to be good for Michigan, not be good for most states in the union. And you know what? That is not the ethos of America. The ethos of America is not shrinking, not becoming beholden to something else, but having our own self-determination, growing, getting bigger, like, Canada being the 51st state. And hell, just bring in, Greenland too. I wouldn't be surprised that, maybe we should be buying Australia. But the idea is America not shrinking, but getting bigger. But we can't do that because, the administrative state, got to make sure that everything is, part of the big plan. Don't own anything, just rent it. You'll be happier.
How long that will continue, we don't know. But if you look at the entire range of Trump's cabinet selections and his nominations for some of the sub-cabinet positions, the quality that comes through over and over again is that he wants not loyalty from his subordinates, but fealty. He wants yes men and yes women. Qualifications, experience, matter less to him?
You know what? The thing is, that's, the perspective of a deep stater with a big mustache that's so big that a lot of deep staters are hiding in it. Let me plug another supplement before we continue on the pontification of John Bolton. Please go to my store, get the stack to bring down inflammation. It's a dual stack, all right? It's going to help with immune system and your cardiovascular system. Turmeric will bring down inflammation. It'll soak up free radicals. Really important. Ashwagandha root is going to control your blood glucose levels and your cortisol levels. When you take these together, it's great for your immune system, but bringing down inflammation at the vascular level is going to reduce plaque buildup. Now, lignans is a powder. You mix it with soft foods or with filtered water. Take it every day. There's a little scooper, really important. You stack this together, guess what? You're helping with your immune system because you're bringing down inflammation. You're soaking up free radicals with the lignans also, and it helps with your endocrine system. So lignans is a dual purpose product, right? Helping with your endocrine system and your immune system. But when you stack it with ashwagandha root and turmeric, you're getting a synergistic effect where you're helping with your vascular system and your immune system. And as a bonus, you're helping with your endocrine system too. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, get the turmeric, the ashwagandha, the lignans, take them together. It's a very powerful stack. And actually, this is a subset of what's actually in my cardiovascular box. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, get healthy. Remember, it's a holistic approach, all right? And it's in the magic, all right, is the stacking. That's really important. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the turmeric, the ashwagandha, and the lignans. Use discount 5, get $5 off. Or better yet, go to my longevity cardiovascular box, get that box, and that's cheaper compared to buying all the different supplements separately. And you can use discount 5 on top of it. All right, let's continue with John Bolton, Mr. Deep State.
And then this issue of fealty, and that's very dangerous. Trump wouldn't understand this, but the function of advisors is not to try and pin the president down or try and move him in a certain direction.
No. The function of the president is to obey the administrative state because they've been inculcated on the way things should be. Heaven forbid you go against that. And if you do, there'll be 7 ways to Sunday that the CIA will come after you. Doesn't that sound familiar? Yeah, years ago we heard that from Chucky Schumer.
Yes, I thought my job was to make sure that Trump had all of the pertinent information in front of him and knew what the range of his options were. He was obviously going to make the decision, but the hope is through that process, he makes a better informed decision if he can choose among options and he's fully informed. If you're surrounded by sycophants, they're just going to say, yes, sir, when the president speaks, and he's not going to have the benefit of that fuller scope of information.
So having seen Trump up close in the White House, do you think that he respects the institutions of the United
What
States
happened with Trump's first term was when he disagreed with his advisors leaked. Tried to change what the president wanted. Now, I think Bolton is losing sight of our Constitution. The head of the executive branch is not the deep state. It's the president. I'm very sure about that. But if you create a system so complex that no one can understand it, and so intertwined with people that are, part of that administrative state, that they get inculcated with certain policies, that if you have a president that's against those policies, do you really think that you're going to have friction within those organizations against the policies of the president? Of course you are going to. So that is not a system that is healthy to push forward the policies of the president, especially if that president is a representative of the will of the people. See, this is where Bolton misses the point here. The will of the people is for the president, not the administrative state.
It's military, it's intelligence services, or does he generally distrust them?
Well, I think he's very suspicious of almost all of the institutions you've just mentioned because he thinks he was persecuted for the so-called Russia collusion that occurred during the 2016 campaign. I will say, frankly, in my time at the White House, I didn't see any evidence of it. If I had, I think I would have remembered it. And I don't think there's any, again, there are plenty of conspiracy theories you can spin about what motivates Trump, but there are simpler and I think more evident explanations for it. But he distrusts the intelligence community, the law enforcement community, the military, because he thinks they were conspiring against him. And I'm very worried that over the course of 4 years, he could do considerable damage to all of those institutions. He doesn't really understand the government. He feels uncomfortable outside the West Wing. He likes to go to the tank at the Pentagon, but even walking in the corridors of the old executive office building, you get a sense he just can't wait to get back to the West Wing. It's a very limited understanding of what the capabilities are, and it's a reflection of his limited understanding, really, of what's at stake in some of the crises that we see around the world, starting with Ukraine.
So speaking of crises, let's talk about some of the ones that he's created recently. What should we make of his desire to annex Greenland and Canada? Is that to be taken seriously, or is that in jest, or is that his bargain?
I think it should be taken seriously because our founding fathers wanted Canada. And then when you're looking at Greenland, it's a perfect strategic defense platform for us, especially when we build the Golden Dome or the Trump Dome or whatever we want to call it.
To begin some sort of negotiations with them.
Well, again, Trump supporters say he's a master of the art of the deal. He certainly thinks he is, and that he takes maximalist opening bargaining positions, and therefore you should understand that a lot of what he says is just for purposes of negotiation. Well, the trouble with that explanation is that it implies there's a strategy of how you get from the maximalist position to something that's acceptable. And he doesn't have that strategy. And it further doesn't take into account if everything you do is bargaining, then your friends are left uncertain really what your reliability is going to be in a crunch. And I think we're seeing that play out in the NATO alliance right now, unfortunately. If you take Canada as an example, if you bring it back to what I think is the foundation for a lot of what he says, he doesn't like former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Doesn't like him for a lot of reasons, and some of which have merit. But in being able to troll Trudeau by calling him Governor Trudeau instead of Prime Minister Trudeau, of talking of Canada not as a NATO ally but as the 51st state, he's enjoying himself denigrating Trudeau and Canada. The chances that we will actually do anything to try and annex Canada are between slim and none, because I think if he were to start down that road seriously, people would have to question his sanity and whether he was fit anymore if he ever was to be in office. And it's as an example to show how little he thinks about the consequences of his actions. He didn't like Trudeau. He didn't like Foreign Minister Chrystia Freeland as she became Deputy Prime Minister at one point during his first term. And by criticizing Trudeau and belittling him in Canada, Trump has had the remarkable effect of moving Trudeau's party under a new Prime Minister into a competitive position in the parliamentary elections Canada will have later this year with the Conservative Party, which has seen its support drop like a rock because of Trump's criticisms. Now, if you said from the U.S. perspective, we'd rather have the conservatives in power, Trump is achieving exactly the opposite. So Canada is this is not serious. Greenland is a different circumstance, although Trump's lack of understanding makes it look like it's another part of a clown show. But the U.S. has had a significant interest in Greenland for good reason for a long time. After Secretary of State William Seward bought Alaska from Russia in 1867, he negotiated with with Denmark to buy Greenland. He just wasn't able to make a deal. The U.S. did buy the Danish Virgin Islands from Denmark in 1917 to guard the approaches to the Panama Canal. Roosevelt put Marines and Coast Guard on Greenland even before Pearl Harbor to help protect the North Atlantic convoy rights. Harry Truman offered $100 million for Greenland in 1947. Greenland's very important to the United States and NATO as a whole. Look at a map of the Arctic. It's pretty clear why. And now with global warming, the potential mineral resources of Greenland are more available, and allowing China or Russia to get a position there is just not acceptable. Now,
all right, so
again,
we're 14 minutes into his pontification. I haven't seen one word that was positive about Trump. Now, it is impossible. I don't care if it's Genghis Khan or Hitler. There's always something positive with an individual. Now, they may have more bad than good, or some people have more good than bad, but there's always something positive to say about someone. Something. Now, one thing has he said that was positive. Come on, Bolton. Let's, I know you're, an intellectual. Let's just dig deep. Tell me something positive.
Deal with this, both with the Greenlanders who are, they have a democratic government. We're not going to buy their territory from them, and with Denmark, which is also a democracy. And when you conduct negotiations like this in public, you push democratically elected leaders into corners. It's a self-defeating proposition. I think we looked at this in 2019 when Trump brought it up the first time. There are a lot of things we can do, and hopefully we can do it through a quiet negotiation and not do it under the spotlight.
So do you think it's possible, though, that Donald Trump will forcibly try to take Greenland, or that he will somehow manage to destroy U.S. relations with Denmark in order to take Greenland? What do you think is actually realistically going to happen here? And going forward, though, how should any of these foreign leaders, whether it's the Canadians...
Why should we care about Denmark? Really? Why?
Danish, how should they be interpreting all that Trump is saying and doing? And what would you recommend they would react with? What should they do in response?
Well, I understand it's very frustrating to have to put up with this. All I can say is I saw it daily for 17 months, but there's no prospect of American military force being applied against Greenland. Again, this would be impeachable. I think people would rise up if we sent the 82nd Airborne into Greenland. But in Trump's world, he doesn't understand how to achieve the objective that he wants. And he may have some idea that it would enhance his position in history if he could conquer Greenland. But it's not serious. It however, shows an erratic, unsteady, and totally transactional presidency that has to unnerve our allies. And the best I can say is just grit your teeth. I mean, I know we've got a long time to go. We're only 2 months into this. We've got 46 more months. But people should remember, Trump is an aberration. This is not a reflection of where the majority of the American people are. He wasn't elected to invade Greenland or anything else.
He won the Electoral College and the popular vote. So more than 50% of the population actually voted for this.
And he himself said he wanted to end the endless wars, which he's now trying to do unfortunately in Ukraine. So there's no quick answer here. I think people are just going to have to reconcile themselves to this kind of bizarre behavior, and as I say, try and grit our teeth so we don't do more damage than Trump himself is doing to the alliance, which, if it breaks apart, gives Moscow a win that they were never able to achieve in the Cold War, and something that will benefit China as well, to the detriment of the West as a whole.
I totally disagree with you on this. We're going to actually have a better defense umbrella if we took Greenland or coerce Greenland to become part of the United States. And I just think that our founding fathers wanted the country to get bigger, not, to stay small. Now, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, get the NAD+. NAD+ supplement will boost up your NAD levels. That will help to boost up your glutathione, which is a pathway to soak up free radicals, really important. NAD+ also helps to repair your DNA. That DNA is your cellular DNA and your mitochondrial DNA. That's really important when you get older. When you get older, you have more nicks and damage to your DNA, and you need help to repair it. NAD+ will help with that. Now, also, NAD+ will help to protect neurons. Very important. Once you turn 40 years of age, you need to protect your neurons, but you also protect your neurons by making sure you're activating those neurons. You activate those neurons by doing different exercises, balancing, stretching, but also learning new things to get that positive neuroplasticity. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, get this supplement that will boost up your NAD+ levels. Now, NAC, I added this to my stack. Why? Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, I gotta go back one. It's getting late, so NAD+ boosts up your energy levels, does not boost up your glutathione levels. NAC boosts up your glutathione levels. I apologize for mixing the two up. So NAC will boost up your glutathione levels, and that will soak up free radicals. Really important. NAC will help to filter and detoxify your liver and your kidney. NAC will help to calm your central nervous system. So you're going to go into parasympathetic. It's going to reduce anxiety. And NAC is very important for lung health and you heal your lungs. So please go to my store, get the NAC. All right, take this for your stack, boost up those glutathione levels and soak up those free radicals. Let me just repeat what I wanted to say about NAD because I mixed the two up in my head. NAD+ will boost up that NAD levels. Really important to boost up your energy levels. All right. NAD+ will also help to heal your DNA damage, mitochondrial and cellular. And it is very important to help with protecting your neurons. And as you get older, you need to protect your neurons. And again, it's a holistic approach. You understand what I'm saying. You got to learn new things. You got to do balancing, activate those neurons. Those are different neurons when you do balancing exercises. It's different neurons when you stretch. And guess what? It's different neurons when you start doing resistance training and the kinematics. All right. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the NAD+. I apologize for mixing the two up. It is getting late for me. And proper sleep is part of an anti-aging protocol. Ubiquinol. Ubiquinol is the most bioavailable form of CoQ10 that you can get. On my store is let me repeat, the most bioavailable form of CoQ10. Most people that take CoQ10, you're getting the bad type. The type that isn't very good with bioavailability. But this is very high quality. All right. Ubiquinol will help with your energy levels. It'll help the health of the mitochondria. It's going to soak up free radicals because it's an antioxidant. And it also helps to protect neurons. A great stack is NAD+ and ubiquinol for neural health. Also stack this with resveratrol and C60. Very powerful combo. So please go to my store and get the NAD+, again, to boost up your energy levels, not glutathione. NAC boosts up your glutathione. And ubiquinol, really important for your neural health. This is a great stack, all right? Ubiquinol, NAD+, and NAC. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Again, I apologize for mixing up the NAD plus and the NEC. Now, before we continue on with Mr. Deep State, another great stack is to take C60 and resveratrol together. Now, resveratrol will stack well with the ubiquinol, the NAC, and NAD+, all right? You get the most benefit out of resveratrol, which you should be taking every day, is to stack it with those 3 supplements I just went over, or the C60 and or the C60. So let me say what resveratrol does. I've been taking resveratrol for decades, all right? It's really important. It's an antioxidant, so it's going to soak up free radicals. It's going to help with the mitochondrial health. So that means it's going to help with energy levels. But also what it does is it helps with slowing down the aging process, all right? It gets rid of cells that are in senescence. Senescent cells are cells that just stop dividing and collecting garbage. Their telomere lengths shrink to a certain level and they just sit there. And they don't go into apoptosis. Well, resveratrol helps to get rid of those cells. And guess what? Resveratrol is really important for gene expression. All right. Now, it'll soak up free radicals because it's an antioxidant. And you could stack it really well with C60, which is a very potent antioxidant. And like I said, you can stack it with the NAC or the ubiquinol and the NAD+. It's a great stack too. All right. So let's talk about the C60 before we continue on with Bolton. C60 is a very potent antioxidant. You take a teaspoon a day, take it on an empty stomach for best absorption. If you work out, take it before your workout. It'll soak up the free radicals while you're working out, and you'll recover quicker. You'll notice that your recovery is quicker. All right. Take a teaspoon a day, every day. All right. Now, I'm going to tell you some things that I've noticed with this since I've been taking it for years. But you can get it in a 2 ounce, a 4 ounce, or an 8 ounce configuration. Get the higher ounce configuration. It's cheaper for you per ounce. Okay. On my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Now, you can get the C60 in MCT coconut oil. You can get it in extra virgin olive oil or in avocado oil. Again, take a teaspoon a day. If you work out, take it before you work out. If not, then just take that teaspoon a day on an empty stomach for best absorption. And what you're going to notice is that your energy levels are going to go up because you're increasing the health of your mitochondria, and your mitochondria produces lots of ATP, which is the energy source that your cells need. So you're going to have more energy. Your cells are going to perform better because it has more ATP, and it's soaked up the free radicals that are floating around in the cell, all right, and your bloodstream. But the thing is, it's soaking up those free radicals, and it's reducing the stress on the cell. So the cell is going to perform better, okay? C60 is a molecule, a 60 carbon molecule that will soak up hundreds, almost 1,000 times more than vitamin C. You can't take enough vitamin C to be able to equal this. You can't digest it. But the thing is that with C60, with just taking a teaspoon a day, you can take a tablespoon, but that could be expensive for you. But the thing is that a teaspoon a day is what I do, and I do it every day. All right, and it's soaking up those free radicals. So your tissues, your cells, and your tissues are going to have more energy, and it's going to perform better because you soaked up those free radicals, and the mitochondrial health is better. And you reduce that stress that free radicals cause, and you're reducing the damage that free radicals cause in your cell. Because when you have lots of free radicals, it's actually damaging the cell and aging it. And so it has mechanisms to try to reverse that damage. But if it gets overloaded with damage, then the cell is permanently damaged. All right. And just think about this. As you age, you are actually producing more free radicals at a faster rate. So if you're not taking strong antioxidants on a regular basis, you're not soaking up those free radicals as you're aging, as you're getting older. That's the reason why when people age, and you see them much older in their geriatric years, they age faster. That's one of the reasons. It's not the only reason, but it's one of the reasons. So you're building up more free radicals, and you're not clearing them out. So it's important to soak up those free radicals. The earlier, the better. Now, I've done experiments on my dog. All right. And what I have noticed with the protocol that I put my dog on. All right. The dog protocol that I have is C60 with max 35. And to help with the health of the thyroid, I give the dog drops of iodine. All right, 2 drops of iodine a day. And I give it the Boomer Boost, or not the Boomer Boost, the Gladiator barley, not the Boomer Boost, but the Gladiator barley, and a high nutritious multivitamin powder that is just for pets, okay, not for human consumption. So the dog gets a multivitamin that's special for pets. And NMN, I give the dog NMN, and 2 drops of iodine, 2 scoops, or a scoop of, depending on the size of the dog. My dog's small, so 1 scoop. 1 scoop of the Gladiator barley. All right, and the Gladiator barley is helping with soaking up free radicals, bringing down inflammation, all right, giving those energy levels and detoxifying. And the C60 and the max 35. All right, and I do that every day. All right, and what I have noticed with my dog, I've had 2 dogs in my life, all right, and a couple cats, but I don't like cats, right? So I don't have any cats anymore. But the thing is that the dog, my first dog, I didn't have it on a anti-aging protocol, and that dog aged and ended up getting cancer. All right, I tried an experiment with this with my current dog, and this dog is super healthy. All right, and you can see it in the coat. All right, I have a rat terrier, like a rat terrier beagle mix. All right, breed. Very energetic. All right, and the coat, you know, normally when a dog gets to about 5 years of age, they start whitening with their muzzle, right? Or their hair is a little harder, or they start to gray. You don't see that at all. Or sometimes you would see in an older dog, you would see like maybe a glaucoma that's starting to set in, right? Or the eyes that don't look as healthy as they age. This dog shows no signs of aging. And she's more than 5 years old now. She looks like she's 2 years old. All right, I'm not joking about this. I'm being very serious. Right, and what's important is that dogs typically age faster. Now, another thing that I do with my dog that I didn't do with my first dog is that this dog eats human food. All right, it's all very high quality meats, pressure cooked with vegetables, and that's how it's fed. All right, so it's very high quality food, not dog food, but very high quality human food with the C60, the max 35 NMN, 2 drops of iodine, and Gladiator barley, 1 scoop because of the size of the dog. If it's a larger dog, you should be using 2 scoops or 3 scoops, depending on the size of the dog. And then the max 35. Max 35 helps with the immune system and neutralizes pathogens. All right, so you're helping with the gut health too. All right, and then this dog, high quality dog multivitamin probiotic powder that I purchase, that is part of her protocol. All right, this dog's doing really well. Now, dogs age usually fast. I personally think that to find the cure for cancer was actually find the cure for cancer for dogs first. But the thing is it works. All right, and so the thing that the thing that I noticed with me is that when I started taking C60, teaspoon a day, every day, all right, I used to have glasses, farsighted with stigmatism. Within 2 to 3 months, I didn't need to wear my glasses. All right. Now, so that's only 2 to 3 months. Now I started wearing glasses at, I don't know, age 19, 20, when I started doing CAD. All right. And and people know that if you use glasses all the time, your eyes actually get weaker. All right. So I noticed that my eyesight was getting better, but I also noticed that my energy levels were much higher. All right. And that the energy levels, seeing the change in energy levels for me was probably within that first month. Okay. And then when what happens is that as you're soaking up these free radicals, there are positive results, not just with energy levels, but you're also noticing that your immune system and your endocrine system is performing better. And because you're soaking up those free radicals, you just have more. You can fight something if you've contracted something, and your body has more energy to fight it. All right, so that's really important. So that's helping with your immune system and your endocrine system. All right, I've known people that have been using C60 for other ailments like autoimmune. All right, because the thing is with autoimmune is that what you'll notice is that there's like an inflammatory response that activates the cascade to produce more antibodies that will attack tissue. But if you calm that cascade down by soaking up free radicals, reducing the stress at the cellular or at the tissue level, and you're bringing down inflammation by taking the turmeric and the ashwagandha together, what you're doing is you're calming down an autoimmune disorder. Now, my research on HIV, taking a certain protein and purifying that protein, and you can actually calm the immune system down. Because what is HIV? HIV has proteins that actually weaken the immune system, but it also it's also a pathogen that spreads in your body. All right. But if you purify the protein, then what happens is that you can actually calm the immune system down, and that's a treatment for autoimmune disorder. But you can't do that because it's not FDA approved. But what you can do is you can mimic the same effects by taking supplements, by calming the immune system and reducing the oxidative stress. And this is the genius of what the research I did over at Harvard, all right? That you can calm down the immune system and soak up free radicals, and you're actually improving your immune system. And this is the reason why what I have to say is far more important than anything that Dr. McCall has to say. All right. So let's get back to the point. C60, you can get it in a 2 ounce, a 4 ounce, or an 8 ounce configuration. You can get it in avocado, extra virgin olive oil, or MCT coconut oil. All right. Take a teaspoon a day and soak up those free radicals. And when you're soaking up those free radicals, again, your tissues and your cells are going to perform better because that's less oxidative stress. Now, the more ways you attack soaking up free radicals, the better. C60 is the most potent of all the antioxidants. Another great way is to stack this with the NAC. Now, NAC, again, boosts up your glutathione levels, which is another way to soak up free radicals. Stack this with gladiator barley. That's another way to soak up free radicals because that's through superoxide dismutase, a different vector. Taking resveratrol also soaks up free radicals another way. Taking vitamin C soaks up another way. So the more ways you soak up, even though they are less potent, are synergistic with C60. because what you're doing is you're tricking the body to soak up these free radicals at different points in the free radical cascade. And with C60, as it's in your bloodstream, it's going to soak up the free radicals in the bloodstream, preventing oxidized LDL. What was I saying? Oxidized LDL is what helps form plaque. Well, if you don't have oxidized LDL, you can't form plaque. You can't. It has to be oxidized. So if you soak up as much as you can, then you're reducing the chances of plaque buildup. But over time, if you follow that cardiovascular protocol, you can actually shrink the plaque. Now you see the power of what I'm saying? When I say that my protocol is the most comprehensive than anybody, it's true. It may be expensive, but it fucking works. But people are thinking, oh, they got to get one supplement here or another supplement there, and that's it. Wrong. Or I'm just going to work out and, eat veggies. Wrong. I'm just going to meditate and be Buddha. Wrong. So take the lessons learned from the research that I did on how to calm the immune system. Take the lessons learned from what I've been seeing with my pet anecdotally. Take the lessons learned from what other people are seeing when they stack this stuff. And guess what? When you have, like, for example, there are people that have Hashimoto's. That is an autoimmune disorder that actually attacks the thyroid. All right? And what happens is that when you're attacking the thyroid, your thyroid hormone will increase at first as the cells blow up. And then when you start to lose function of those cells, because you have less cells in your thyroid, then what happens is that your thyroid hormone starts to go down. So there is kind of an initial spike, and then there is a decline. All right, that's bad. That's bad. All right. But if you can calm the attack, the autoimmune attack, by bringing down inflammation and soaking up free radicals, then what's happening is you're actually reducing the damage to the thyroid. The same principle with people that have autoimmune disorder with the pancreas. Now do you understand that when I say I'm the most comprehensive on this, just these little tidbits that I'm telling you, it's self-evident, it's axiomatic, but you got a lot of celebrity docs out there that get much more notoriety, that built up an empire, but their protocol isn't comprehensive. It doesn't work as well. Part of the reason is because they're not a polymath. But okay, with that said, all right. So get the C60, soak up those free radicals, and what you're going to notice is your energy levels are going to go up. You're bringing down that reactive oxygen species stress. So your tissues are going to perform better. Your organs are going to perform better. Your glands are going to perform better. That means your endocrine system, your exocrine system, and your immune system is going to perform better. And not only that, C60 improves the mitochondrial health of your neurons. So you get the oxidative stress in your neurons, and guess what? That C60 is going to soak up those free radicals. So it's going to improve the health of the neuron and boost up the health of the mitochondria. And you need lots of mitochondria in your neurons to make neurotransmitters and to shoot off those neurotransmitters. So when you get older and you got lots of free radicals floating around and you're not taking a strong antioxidant like C60, your neurons are aging faster. Your immune system is aging faster. Your liver is aging faster. So don't be surprised that your body is falling apart faster. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, get the C60, take a teaspoon a day. Some people do take a tablespoon when they're rich. But the thing is that I take a teaspoon a day, all right? And that's enough, but you got to do it every day and soak up those free radicals and stack it like I'm saying to. Take the ubiquinol and the NAD and the NAC. You're helping with your neurons, and you're soaking up those free radicals in different ways. All right. And of course, the NAC helps to repair the DNA damage. And that's obviously the more DNA damage you have, the faster you're going to age. So you want to repair that as quickly as possible. So I just gave you a great stack. All right. Now, if you don't believe me, do an experiment. All right. It's all seeing is believing, right? Do an experiment. For 1 year, take C60 every day and document in a journal how your body's improving. And what you're going to notice is your eyesight's going to get better. You're going to notice that your immune system's getting better. You're going to notice that you have higher energy levels. You're going to have more vitality. You're going to see a positive effect. You're going to think more clearly. Your memory will be better. And document this over a year. And then you're going to realize, wow, Dr. Paul Cottrell was right. So please go to my store, use discount 5. The stuff works. Use discount 5 and get $5 off. And again, anti-aging boxes and longevity boxes have a built-in discount compared to buying the products individually. So it's better to get an anti-aging box or a longevity box and use the discount 5. All right, let's continue on with Bolton. I apologize for being long-winded, but I think it was important for me to express that I've been experimenting for approximately 3 years now, maybe, yeah, it was 3 or 4 years now on my dog with the C60 and this protocol that I was telling you about, and it's working. All right. And dogs age, anyone that has had a dog, they age fast, especially a beagle mix. All right. So, guess what? You might want to listen to like an anti-aging protocol for a dog and see what, there's many things that we can learn from animals because we're part of the evolutionary process, right? But not just that. I've been doing this for a long time. All right. And the aging is slower for me, for sure. But, if you don't want to listen, don't listen.
What should the NATO allies be doing at this point? If they realize that Donald Trump is doing things that are bad for the alliance and perhaps even favorable to Russia, what should they be doing to win him over?
Well, from their perspective, they need to try and find ways to work with him. It's hard to predict who will be successful. It looks, for example, like British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has so far a pretty good relationship with Trump. I wouldn't necessarily have predicted that, but it looks like it's off to a good start. Prime Minister Meloni of Italy, I think, has a good relationship. So does Viktor Orban of Hungary. That's not a pattern we'd like to see repeated. But I think leaders are going to have to think about how to flatter Trump. I mean, I'm sorry to have to say that, but that's what gets to him. So my recommendation to President Zelensky would be to do what Shinzo Abe, the Prime Minister of Japan, did in the first term, nominate Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize, and do it quickly before somebody else thinks of it.
It's a good idea. So let me ask you just one last question, Mr. Messer. If you were in Oval Office today, how would you see ending the war in Ukraine? What would be the next steps?
Well, I think
he wouldn't. Wait, I don't even know what he's going to say, but I have a certain opinion, a certain bias against Bolton. I'm willing to bet he's going to say bomb Putin, all right? Because ending the war in Ukraine is unacceptable for the national security state. But let's just see what he has to say. Give him the benefit of the doubt.
What to do? Trump has moved so far away from what I think are core American interests that our hope has to be that Putin makes a mistake here. So far, he has played it from Russia's point of view pretty sagely. He's just let Trump make one concession after another. He hasn't rushed to come to the bargaining table. How he addresses this proposal for a 30-day ceasefire that came out of the meeting in Jeddah between the Ukrainians and the Americans will be an interesting test. His apparent inclination is to reject the idea of a 30-day ceasefire. That could irritate Trump. Trump has flipped on leaders where he thought he had a good or a bad relationship and come out the other way. I don't think this alone would do it for Putin, but Putin we shouldn't overestimate the enemy either. I mean, we shouldn't underestimate them, but Putin could make a mistake here, and that's what I think the allies should seize on. I think Zelensky has, by accepting the ceasefire, has gone a long way to overcoming what happened in the Oval Office. There may still be more there, but he took the ceasefire, which I can't believe he's very happy about. But he did what was necessary for Ukraine, and I think that's he's to be commended for that.
Let me ask just one follow-up question to that. So what do you think that Donald Trump really wants to see come out of Ukraine and Russia? Is it just to have a peace at any cost, or does he have long-term plans for either?
Well, I think he wants a success for Donald Trump. And he said during the campaign that the war in Ukraine, in fact, the war in the Middle East would never have happened if he had been president. Now, that's not a statement that's provable or disprovable. Putin has agreed with him in the case of Ukraine. That's part of how Putin has manipulated Trump. Zelensky should probably do the same, but it's you have to convince Trump that if he stays in a very pro-Russian posture, which is where he is now, that will redound to his detriment. And if he can be persuaded of that and to switching back toward the Ukrainian side, that I think it's possible, although it will be difficult and people need to be very careful how they do it. But
this guy is a perma bear for the Cold War.
Would be the approach. I'd be looking for ways to take advantage of mistakes that Putin will make, or go back over the past couple of weeks and see if there are things he's said or done that can be exploited to show that he's not on board for a real peace, that we know what he really wants. He wants to conquer Ukraine and return it to be a piece of the Russian Empire. He's basically stated that goal for the past 20 years. If Trump could be convinced of that, that might be a step forward.
But the United States has stated very clearly since the fall of the Berlin Wall and Bush Sr. that there's going to be expansion of NATO. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the structural nano silver toothpaste. This literally is the best toothpaste that you can buy. Why? It doesn't have fluoride in it, and it's made from structural nano silver. It will whiten your teeth, freshen your breath, help with your gum health, reduce inflammation at the gum line, and with good oral hygiene, you're reducing the chances of cardiovascular disease and valvular disease. That's really important. People don't realize you have bad oral hygiene, especially when you're older, you're increasing your chances of cardiovascular problems and valvular problems. Please go to my store, get a few tubes of this toothpaste, help support my work. You know what? I have some really interesting ideas on how to get healthy. All right? Get a few tubes of this toothpaste, help support the channel and your health. It's a win-win. Use discount 5 and you get $5 off. I also have structural nano silver gels. I have 2 types, one in a tube form and one in a dispenser. Use it the same way. It's a multi-purpose product. You should have some of this at your home or at work at all times. All right? Why? It'll help to heal a cut, a minor burn, or an abrasion. You can use it as a skincare. You can put it on your skin, and it'll help to heal your skin and improve the topical layer. A great way to do it is to put it on your skin at night and then exfoliate in the morning. Also, you can use it as an aftershave. Guys, you shave your face, put it on your face, and it'll soothe that razor burn. Women, if you're shaving your legs, put this on your legs after you shave, and it'll soothe and help heal your skin. All right? The structural nano silver gel is part of a skincare line product. It's called the anti-aging skin health care box. All right? And in that box, there's 2 types. One is the beginners or the advanced. And in the beginners, you get the structural nano silver gel, the collagen, and the vitamin C. If you drink filtered water, the vitamin C cross-links with the collagen and it improves the dermal layer, and the structural nano silver gel improves the topical layer. In the advanced box, you get everything in the beginner's box, but you also get C16 resveratrol that will help with the basal layer. That's the layer that produces new skin cells. All right. And why resveratrol and C60? They're antioxidants, soaking up the free radicals. And resveratrol is getting rid of cells that are in senescence. All right? So you're reducing that stress load and improving the basal layer. So you're improving all the layers in your skin with the advanced box. So you can use it as a skincare. But also, if someone is not feeling well around you at work or at home, put this stuff, or you're not feeling well, put this on your hands, put it around your mouth, around your nose, around your ears, lightly coat your nostrils, stays active for 5.5 hours. All right? That was really important in 2020, trust me. All right? So this is way better than Perel. Perel will crack your skin. Perel is alcohol-based. It's going to evaporate. It only stays active for less than 30 seconds. This stays active for 5.5 hours. And it creates a barrier and it neutralizes. Really important. And you can put it on your face and around your mouth and in your nose and around your ears and all that. You can't do that with Perel. All right? So it behooves you to have this at your disposal at work and at home, just in case you need it. And again, it's a multi-purpose product. So please go to my store, get the tube version or the easy dispenser version. Both use the same way. All right. Now let's talk about a stack before we go to the next video. I'm going to go to Krugman on trade war, lack of consumer confidence. He's an economist, Nobel Prize winning economist, but he's a socialist. All right. And his economic theories suck. But with that said, I'm going to talk about a stack that could help here. Zeolite it will help with detoxification of your body. All right. It helps to remove heavy metals, toxins, and chemicals. So you take 2 small drops underneath your tongue, drink filtered water, do that every day. If you want a more intense detox, but you only want to do that once or twice a year, take 5 small drops underneath your tongue, drink the filtered water, do that every day until the bottle's done, do that once or twice a year. It's up to you. It's better to do a maintenance every day. Now, what's important is that you drink filtered water and you stop eating processed foods that have a lot of chemicals in them. All right. I've noticed that even in New York City water, that because I have zero water and it comes with a measuring device, that the last year and a half, the water particulate number is double before the filtration. So it used to be at around 25, 30, but the last year and a half or so, when it comes out of the faucet, it's at 50. All right, that's before it's filtered. Now, once it's filtered, then what happens is it turns to 0. So but the thing is that because there's more particulates, I'm burning through the filters faster. Well, it's double the rate. Now, why did New York have more particulates in the water? All right, a big part of illness is what you consume. All right, so filter your water, super important, and also stay away from processed foods. And take a look at the chemicals around you in your environment. All right, at home, especially in the garage, basement, cupboards, cleaning supplies. Try to mitigate your exposure to them. If you have to have them, put them in containers that are double or triple layered. And that way you have less degassing and you're not breathing it in. You're not being exposed. Because these types of chemicals affect your immune system and your endocrine system. So take the zeolite every day, clean your environment, and filter your water and reduce processed food intake, and you're going to get healthier. All right. Now, when your body is functioning better because you've detoxed your body, you're not going to be so sluggish. Your body is going to perform better. All right. Now, when we get older, we start to atrophy. So it's really important to boost up your musculature. Now, taking Myotrol will help with the gene expression to build muscle and to maintain muscle. But it's hard to maintain muscle if you're full of toxins. All right. So and you're sluggish and you don't feel well and you're always getting sick and blah, blah, blah. Right. So you want to detoxify your body, but you also want to do some exercising. I've told you 1,000 times, four types: cardio, resistant, stretching, and balancing. They're all important. But when you're doing that resistance training, you're going to be activating your muscles, and with myotrol, you're going to have the gene expression that is needed to build the muscle. All right. So take the myotrol. This has flavonoids, lignans, and polyphenols to help with the gene expression for muscle. Now, this stacks really well with gladiator barley, because gladiator barley is a high density protein that will be the building blocks to build the muscle. But the myotrol is the gene expression to help with building muscle. Now, this is great for if you're an athlete, young or old, and you take this to improve your performance in your sport, or if you're older and you're not an athlete. All right, this is a great way to maintain and improve your musculature. Because as we get older, it's going to be harder to gain muscle. Now, I used to do triathlons, all right, in my 20s and 30s, and I'm pretty healthy, but it's still, being at age 50, in your 50s, all right, I'm not the same as I was in my 20s, all right? So gaining muscle, right, is a little harder for me because I'm older, right? Even though I'm doing all this anti-aging. Now, if I didn't do all this anti-aging, it would be even harder. But the thing is that you can improve your musculature by doing some resistance training, eating properly, taking supplements, and stacking them. Now, the point that I want to make with this stack is that with the zeolite and the myotrol, you are soaking up those toxins, excreting them out through urination in 6 to 8 hours. You're improving your immune system, you're improving your endocrine system. And when you're improving your endocrine system, you're improving your energy levels. And with more energy levels and a little bit of help of boosting up musculature with taking the myotrol, and again, lignans helps to bring down inflammation. So that's also going to help with your immune system and recovery time after your workout. This is a great way to get healthy, all right? Build up muscle, more vitality. You're improving your endocrine system and your immune system by detoxing, all right? So this is a good stack, right? Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the myotrol, get the deal. All right, let's go to Krugman and see how much of a social policy he's pushing on Bloomberg.
Too many times athletes and entertainers get into partnerships that are transactional. But what we do well is...
Paul, it's really good to get your perspective on this. What we're seeing is the soft data and the vibes deteriorate. When does that lead into that hard data? What's the lag time?
We're only in 9 seconds of this video, and I can tell you what Bloomberg's doing. Bloomberg brings on a socialist economist that ended up getting a Nobel Prize, all right? And the globalists, aka Bloomberg, doesn't like tariffs because that's a weapon against globalization, all right? And so you're going to try to demonize Trump with the tariff policy that is affecting the stock market that could lead to a recession, possibly, maybe. But if you bring on economists that are about socialistic policy, about big government, right? They're going to have a negative outlook on this concept of America first, right? So let's just see. We're only 9 seconds in, all right? But you got to remember, Krugman, I'm sure he's not pro-Trump. And I don't know if he still writes for New York Times. I think it was the New York Times, but he used to, at least. He's a professor at the City University of New York. I thought he also did op-ed pieces for New York Times.
When I was here on your own program, some of the consumer-facing, businesses are already seeing it. So it probably starts to show. I mean, you got to bear in mind that even, when we get data for March, It'll actually be dated for the first half of March, really. And so it'll take a while before it's really in the numbers. But if this is for real, if this is really, if consumers are as upset as they say they are, this is going to be a pretty heavy blow to the economy.
And that raises the silly question for me of like, are tariffs actually inflationary? Which raises the question, are we in like a trade war or a tariff war? And a tariff's one-time cost increase versus a trade war that can be really prolonged.
Well, I think we are in a trade war, but even so, if it's like 25% tariffs on everything around the world, even that is a one-time pop in prices unless it somehow feeds into a continuing process. And one of the great unknowns here, I mean, there's so many unknowns, but one of the great unknowns is whether it's a one-time hit, whether it's something like a pop in the price of oil, which the Fed ignores because it believes that those don't lead to sustained inflation, or is this something that's going to sort of dislodge, destabilize inflation expectations and end up being a longer term problem? And I don't know. The point is that actually nobody knows, which is part of this environment of extreme uncertainty that is now surrounding everything.
So how much stock, though, should we put in to this types of survey data on longer term consumer expectations? Because I went back and looked at what some of that survey data looked like in 2017 when we were kind of starting up the first sort of batch of Trump tariffs during his first term here. And you did not necessarily see that type of pessimism so soon in the process.
Yeah, this is kind of unique. I mean, it's actually stunning how fast consumer expectations have deteriorated. I wrote about this in my Substack today. That I thought we would have a few months at least of people feeling good. Great, we've got a businessman president, he's going to bring things under control. But the combination of this, not just the tariffs, but the on again, off again, on again, off again tariffs, the confused rhetoric, and I think all of still the crazy stuff, we're going to annex Canada, has dislodged people's certainties about the future much, much faster than, I think it's probably a record. I don't think anybody's ever seen them deteriorate so fast under a new administration.
And it raises a lot of questions too about monetary policy and what effect it can even have in this particular environment, not only given the speed of changes, but as you kind of alluded to, the idea that whatever changes today could change potentially next week, and for a Fed that, at least admittedly, is somewhat a little bit more long-term focused. I mean, how do you even go in there and have an honest conversation about what economic conditions are going to be like? I'm really interested to see there's some of your economic projections next Wednesday, but how much can I trust those projections given how erratic fiscal policy, or at least I should say Washington policy, has been?
Yeah, the Fed is intelligent people, but who basically have the same information that you and I do. So they're as much a seat as.
Wait a minute. Let's rewind. And let's go back to the Biden administration with Janet Yellen telling Congress that inflation is transitory. That's Biden's administration, the Secretary of the Treasury, Yellen, misreading the data. Ph.D., well-known person, all right? And the Federal Reserve doing the same issue, misreading the data, groupthink, because they thought that inflation was transitory and they didn't raise rates. And then when they found out that it wasn't transitory, the Federal Reserve made a big mistake. They didn't shock the system by raising the rates higher at a faster rate to bring down that inflation because they screwed up. But this Nobel Prize winner can't see the forest through the trees. Now we have consumer sentiment that's consumer confidence is going down. Big part of that is the stock market's going down. Big part of that is because of the tariff war that's going on. But inflation isn't because of Trump right now. Inflation is still the afterglow from a Fed policy that was screwed up once they realized that inflation was not transitory. That was the number. They did 3 mistakes, the Federal Reserve. They misread the data. They thought that the inflation was transitory. They didn't do shock therapy. Second mistake. They should have done what Volcker would have done, but they didn't. So Powell screwed up the second time. And then the third mistake is in 2024, they cut rates when unemployment was below 5% and inflation was above the 2% target. Another screw up. 3 screw ups, and that led to the inflation afterglow that we have right now. Not because of tariffs. That's horseshit. But consumer confidence definitely could go down because of what they're seeing with the stock market. And that is tariff-based. But inflation, the price of your eggs, the price of your milk, those are policies that the Federal Reserve failed on. Now, with the whole eggs and milk, that's also tied with H1N1, H5N1. So that's bird flu issue, right? But the price of goods and services being that are above normal levels, those are based on 3 mistakes that the Federal Reserve made: misreading the data, not shock therapy, doing the shock therapy, and cutting rates too quickly in 2024. And now we got a problem. And that's the real, but clown here thinks you can just print money to infinitum and everything's going to be copacetic.
And one thing that I think is special is that the uncertainty is on again, off again. Who knows what actually, what's going to be posted on Truth Social tomorrow, is itself a force depressing the economy. I mean, suppose you're a business trying to decide on between 2 investments. One of those investments makes sense if we are actually going to have 25% tariffs. The other makes sense if we don't have 25% tariffs. And if we don't.
Wait, let's get this straight. Let's get this straight. If you're buying domestically your source material, if you're selling domestically, you don't have a tariff problem. Now, that's tariff related. Now, you also make business decisions based on consumer behavior. And if the consumer behavior may be shifting gears and slowing down their consumption, then that's a different story. But in the bubble of tariffs, if you're a business in the United States and your materials are all domestic and you're selling domestically, what's the issue? Isn't this about localization, not globalization? Isn't that the whole point? Isn't that the whole point? Either reciprocal trade or localization?
There will be a big loss if you've guessed wrong. So what you probably do is you sit on your hands. You don't invest. This has got to be exerting a depressing effect on business spending, probably on consumer spending. We may not see it in the hard data yet, but we've talked endlessly about uncertainty as a possible drag on economic activity. And
Krugman, I think, wants you to buy spatulas at Walmart and not at your local mom and pop shop where you're helping the local economy. Just keep the Walmart family, $450 billion rich.
They're completely off the charts now. It's never been nothing, except, the worst of the pandemic. But we're managing, things look fine. Unemployment is low. Inflation is still pretty low. But economic uncertainty is at levels normally associated with major natural disasters.
Yeah, I've been hearing from business leaders it's a pause button for now, not done projects, but pause. Just drilling down into tariffs a little bit here. What part of the rebalancing of the trade routes and the trade balance do we need to actually address? What's legit here?
It's not at all clear that there's really a problem. I mean, for the most part, the U.S. runs a trade deficit. it's the counterpart of capital inflows. It's the arithmetic. If countries, if foreigners are investing in your country, then you have to run a trade deficit. And for the most part,
you know what? This is the reason why I don't like Krugman, right? He thinks in a bubble, right? And this is the problem with many people that have gained notoriety in their field, but just don't have common sense and they don't have experience in multiple fields, all right? If you are destroying your manufacturing base, you do not have military prowess, nor do you have innovation. Because innovation comes through manufacturing. You got to design and build stuff to have innovation, all right? You can't just ship it overseas because all that innovation is taking place somewhere else, all right? More jobs are created here. So it's really important to maintain our manufacturing base. All right. So he just uses words like trade imbalance, and it doesn't matter because, you know, we have the inflows will be coming in. We purchase their goods that we should be manufacturing, but, you know, we purchase their goods. They get American dollars and they take that American dollars and buy our debt. Well, again, why do we have to have a debt? Why do we keep on spending what we don't have? Why are we wasting so much according to what Doge is coming up with? I should look at the Doge clock. I haven't looked at it in a while. You know, last I looked, it was at 109 or 110 billion, right? But the thing is that there's a lot of wasteful spending. So it's not just okay to like, well, it doesn't really matter because we're bringing in inflows and there's outflows and blah, 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 and they're buying our debt. And, you know, well, the thing is that the debt keeps on rising, all right? And when we have these inflationary spikes because of a misread of the data from our Treasury Department that he went to school with, all right, how does the average person navigate their life when the experts screw up? You have young kids coming out of high school or out of college. All right, where are they going to get the jobs? Where are they going to plug in when the jobs are shipped overseas? Or there's labor arbitrage that's taking place with these countries because they create a higher tariff for our goods, and so we can't sell overseas. You find that fair? I mean, reciprocal trade is fair trade, all right? That's what it should be. Fair trade, not free trade, all right? Free trade only makes rich people richer. But it's all Trump's fault, right? Right, Krugman?
Runs a trade deficit because the rest of the world thinks America is a good place to invest. And it's not clear exactly what the issue is.
We got to parse those words there. Invest in what? Treasuries? Or FDI investment coming overseas and building in the United States? Isn't the whole point of the tariffs is to force companies to do FDI and not to buy U.S. treasuries? Isn't it the whole point of Trump? So which investment are you talking about, Krugman? See, this is the point I'm making. This is that he's not logical. He's not rational. He's only saying one piece of like a socialistic plan, a takeover of America. Now, maybe I'm a little bombastic about this, but the point is, I've lived long enough to realize that people like him are fucking up America.
That's supposed to be resolved here. It's also not even clear that tariffs will reduce the trade deficit because other things being the same, if we import less, that will strengthen the dollar, which means that we will export less. So what they will do is they'll shrink the total amount of trade and raise costs and raise inflation, but not even necessarily do anything measurable to the trade deficit.
See, that's wrong. Like every economist, they know better. On the one hand, but on the other hand, okay? On the one hand, there's the short-term effects, which is what he just said. But on the other hand, there's the long-term effects, which actually would increase the prowess of the United States manufacturing base, create economic clustering where it is a better system in the long run. So are we talking about long-term or short-term? If we're only going to deal with short-term, we're always going to be that heroin addict in the economy. We're always going to make decisions that get the quick hit. A Nobel Prize winner, and he can't give you the full spectrum of the issue.
Yet the dollar still remains strong, and that's not counting any of the issues that we're putting on here. Is that a problem, and what do we do about that?
Well, again, if we're at full employment, and and we are at least for the moment still. There's some hints of weakness, but a full employment economy, it's not clear why a strong currency is a problem. I mean, back when we were a depressed economy in the aftermath of the financial crisis, then the strength of the dollar was a problem. But right now,
he's right about that. He's right about that part of it. That guy grew up, all right. But there's a caveat, we're at full employment with inflation. That means that you have data points that are suggesting that the Federal Reserve needs to raise rates. Now, when you raise rates, theoretically, which the market doesn't do, but theoretically, it would mean that the dollar would increase. But what would also happen is that you would be increasing the actual interest payments because your treasuries, the yields are going to go up. So the whole yield curve is going to be adjusted. So the point I'm making is that you can't just look at full employment. Actually, it's not just full employment, it's overemployed. All right. The natural unemployment rate should be at 5%. If you are below 5% chronically and you are above 2% inflation, that's a problem. That's a problem. You got a heated economy. All right. But no one wants to pay attention to that. So the issue isn't really the value of the dollar. The issue is, why is the Federal Reserve not listening to the metrics? And those metrics are too many people are employed with a higher inflation. So you need to actually cut people.
Concerned about it. I mean, it's we seem to be inventing. I mean, we seem to be inventing problems that aren't really problems. It's kind of like, drug smuggling from Canada, which basically doesn't happen, and yet has become central to our trade policy, apparently. So the strong dollar, yeah, I mean, there are some things we could wish. Maybe the U.S. had higher savings and didn't rely as much on foreign capital, but there's no acute issue here.
How are we going to have higher savings when you have the Congress overspending, and that every year we have to have some sort of rush bill to increase the debt limit? This is the reason why I can't stand Trump. All right. Well, that was Crumb. All right. Wonderful. Are you impressed with his Nobel Prize in economics? I'm not. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the Boomer Boost. This is the fourth pillar of the four-pillar protocol that I call the core. All right. So in the fourth pillar, taking Boomer Boost is going to boost up your energy levels and your metabolism. Super important. Literally, after 72 hours of taking this or earlier, you are literally going to feel the effects of taking this. All right. Your energy levels are going to boost up, and it's not going to be spiked. It's going to be a slow burn throughout the whole day. All right. There's no spiking of energy. All right. Like with an energy drink or anything like that. This is slow burn throughout the whole day, and it's continuous. You'll sleep better. All right. And it's targeting a lot of different systems. It's targeting your cardiovascular system. All right, so that's helping with your vascular, your blood vessels and your vascular system, but also your heart. All right, so it's cardiovascular health. It's going to help with muscles. All right, and help with strength. It's going to help with brain health. So it's going to help with the health of your neurons and memory. It's going to help with sleep. That's really important. All right. And again, it also boosts up the cellular metabolism and your energy levels. It has 68 nutrients. This is a very comprehensive powder. All right. Just go to my store and take a look at the label. But this has all the ingredients that you need to really supercharge your health. All right. You take 1 scoop a day. You either take it in the morning or at lunchtime. This is your meal. You mix it with soft foods like hummus, yogurt, maybe even applesauce, something like that. Or just mix it with filtered water. Some people make a shake, like a smoothie. Some people add it with milk. It's up to you. All right. But take it as your breakfast or your lunch. Now, this container is 1 month's supply for an individual. I guarantee you the cost of this 1 month's supply is cheaper than your breakfast or your lunch that you're typically paying for a month. And you're going to lose weight. All right. And you're controlling your sugar levels. All right. So take this every day, boost up your energy levels, help with your heart health, help with your vascular system health, help with your brain health, help with your musculature health. Take the Boomer Boost every day. Now, if you work out, use this as a pre or post-workout fuel source. All right. And what you're going to notice is that you're going to actually recover quicker, and you have all the ingredients to help to perform better for your sport. I wish this was available when I was doing triathlons back in my 20s. All right. It wasn't. This is very powerful stuff. All right. Now, it works even better when you stack it with the Gladiator barley or the heirloom barley. Now, what's the differences? The differences for the heirloom barley and the Gladiator barley are this. Heirloom barley will help to detoxify your body, reduce inflammation, and soak up free radicals through the superoxide dismutase. Gladiator barley will do all of that, but it also will help to build up strength. All right. So if you are trying to build muscle, taking Gladiator barley is really important. Now, the barleys are high density protein. All right. The barley that's in here is very nutrient dense versus what the barley you would get at a grocery store. So you can't get something like this at a grocery store. All right. Some people would say, well, I'll just eat barley. Wrong. The barley that you're eating at a grocery store doesn't have that much nutrition. This is heirloomed. So it has high nutrition. It's high density protein. You take a half a scoop or a full scoop a day. All right. You can take it separately. All right. And do that every day. But it works much better when you stack it with Boomer Boost. All right. So you're getting the high density protein. You're getting all the nutrients you need for your body. And what you're going to notice when you're working out, that you are building up muscle, you're recovering quicker, you're having more energy, you just have more vitality. There's a little bit more energy in your step. All right. And you literally, I know this sounds kind of, you know, that it sounds like hyperbole, but you literally feel like you're younger. Like you want to just go and run, or you just want to go, you know, when you're younger, you know, you just have all this bundled up energy and you just want to go outside and play around or whatever, ride your bike or play baseball or whatever, right? You just have all this energy that's bundled up in you. That's what happens. And I'm not kidding. You start feeling that in 72 hours. Okay. And it's a healthy energy level increase. It's not like a spike of energy when you take an energy drink. That stuff's terrible for your liver and terrible for your vascular system, right? But this stuff is really healthy for you, all right? So if you're working out, you're going to see huge gains. Now, it stacks really well with Myotrol. If you want to get the max benefit of getting, you know, super built up and healthy and really increase your performance in a sport, all right? Taking the Gladiator Barley, the Boomer Boost, and the Myotrol is a great combo, all right? Now, you can buy these separately. You can take them separately. But like I said, they stack the best. And when you stack it, you're going to be losing weight and you're controlling your A1C levels. That means you're controlling diabetes, or a lot of people in the United States are borderline diabetic. So by taking this, right, proper diet, proper exercise, you're bringing down that A1C level. So you don't have to go down the path of type 2 diabetes, all right? That's not good. Because with type 2 diabetes, some people have to be medicated, all right? But chronic diabetes speeds up the aging process, does damage to your vascular system, does damage to your optic nerve, does damage to your brain cells. There's lots of bad things that happen when you have diabetes, all right? So you don't want that, all right? So, and then if you're borderline diabetic, you're still aging your body quicker. Maybe not as quick as someone that's full-blown diabetic, but you're still, you know, speeding up that aging process. And the whole point I'm talking about is slow down the aging process to let your body heal. But if you have chronic inflammation and damage because borderline diabetes, then you're aging yourself faster. And don't be surprised that you go blind. Don't be surprised that you lose a toe. Don't be surprised that you have kidney failure. Don't be surprised that you actually lose your cognitive function. I'm not joking. This is what's happening in America. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, get the Gladiator Barley. It's a high-density protein. It's very healthy stuff, all right? Brings down inflammation, soaks up those free radicals with superoxide dismutase, detoxifies your body, builds up strength, and it stacks really well with Boomer Boost. Now, you can get this cheaper by taking, on my store, buying the longevity boost box. All right, you get the Boomer Boost and your choice of Gladiator Barley or Heirloom Barley. It's cheaper to buy the combo through the longevity boost box on my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com. You can buy them separately on my store. That's up to you. But like I said, I want to get, these products are super healthy. They work. And when you stack it the way I tell you, boom, you get super benefits out of it. And like I said, I'm the most comprehensive on this than anybody. You just mention who it is, and I'm more comprehensive. Now, people would say, well, you know, I could buy the products over at Boomer Products. Yeah, but Boomer Products doesn't sell C60. All right, well, I can buy C60 from the C60 store. Well, that's true, but you can't buy Boomer Products there. Well, I can just buy structural nano silver, you know, at the structural nano silver store. Well, yeah, but you can't get C60 or Boomer Boost. Do you see the point? If you stack it the way I stack it, you take the supplements that I take, and also my own line that I've created, all right, called the Studio line, all right, but the Studio products. But the thing is that when you stack it the way I'm telling you, you are getting the full synergistic effect of what I'm doing to slow down the aging process. All right. Nobody, I'm telling you, nobody is more comprehensive on this than I am. Nobody. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. And where else are you going to get such great op-ed content on YouTube? All right. So thank you for listening. For the ones that have been listening and participating on X Spaces, I greatly appreciate it. It's getting late. It's now 12:13. And if I'm going to follow my protocol for anti-aging, I need proper sleep. So thank you for listening. Stay tuned for the next broadcast tomorrow. Have a good night. Thank you. Bye-bye.